No. I always go live on Facebook first. I think we're
Yeah.
live on YouTube now as well. Let me see who's on YouTube. I see Rationalific, Dreamlike, Elif, Shane, Arjun,
Winston Smith, Will
Will.
Collins.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
Winston, Murky, Sheher. Who's live on Facebook? If you're live on Facebook, also comment so I could read it as well. But yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah, we're
people.
live. We're live on.
We have a lot of people on YouTube, and there's a lot of diverse opinions. Mark, the only problem I think we're gonna have with today is that we're not gonna have any Trump fans. I hope we get some Trump fans because I think most of our audience, including me and you, Ellie, are not Trump fans. But I do want to hear from atheists, Trump fans, to see why would anybody be a Trump fan.
Well, I mean, religious
We won't
skeptics and
make fun of you.
atheists and that.
We'll try not to make fun of you. Sorry.
No,
We'll,
we're not going to.
uh,
We only do that online on social media. That's it. No,
well,
but I think we're not going to make funny. But the thing is that generally atheists and agnostics tend to be among the highest scoring people in terms of IQ tests.
you just made fun of
So
them.
we.
You're basically gonna say
I thought you
that.
said that calling people that just because people have low IQs
Okay, so
doesn't mean that
basically
they're
you're
not
saying
compassionate.
that most atheists and secularists are not Trump fans because they have higher IQs. That's what you're
Hey,
saying.
listen, that's not me. I'm not saying that. Okay, the
Right.
fact is, it's really funny because there's a lot of sort of Trump supporters who
Mm,
come to me and they're religious and they're conservative and they start talking about the racial IQ thing. And I always tell them, like, do you know conservatives and religious people,
mm,
they're associated with lower IQs
right.
than atheists and liberal people. This is the way it is. That's not me.
M-
That's
this
decades of
data.
sociological data.
Data. Mark is
That's
saying I'm not
data.
a
That's
Trump
data.
fan. Mark is saying I'm not a Trump fan, but I do understand Trump's appeal. Me too. I'm not.
Oh yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
In fact, I have a lot of. I learn a lot, and I think Democrats should learn a lot from Trump's appeal. Anyway, should we get going?
Yes, sir. Get started.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment. My name is Ali Rizvi, and with me is Armin Navabi. Hi, Armin. How are you? Just
Hello.
say you're fine.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go. You
I'm
said
good.
hello. Yeah. So this is a special episode of Secular Jihadists where we're talking about something that's fairly timely. We're going to try to release this as soon as possible because you never know what happens in politics. Everything can change in literally a week, right? So, but here's a context. This is the context. In December 2019, Pew Research published their poll results or their survey results showing that the percentage of religiously unaffiliated adults who describe their religion as atheist or agnostic or nothing in particular in the United States is now 26%. 26%. A decade ago, it was 17%. So, all of you atheist, agnostic, freethinker, secular people out there, you are now the largest minority group in the United States.
Hmm.
So, I'm going to say that again. 26% of the US population religiously unaffiliated adults, and you are now the largest minority group in the United States. To put that in further perspective, black people are about 12% of the US population, Hispanics are about 13%. There are a total of about, according to this, about 62 million black and Hispanic people. Um, the religiously unaffiliated are more than that. They're just around the same or more. So this is a big group. And all of the politicians, the U.S. politicians, are out there trying to get the votes. You know, that we got to get the black vote, we got to get the Hispanic vote, we got to get the minority vote. But what about the votes of the religiously unaffiliated? Right? This is a big group. They're not as organized. They don't come together, joining on this factor. But if we do, then all of the U.S. presidential candidates don't have to pretend like they're religious, which they unfortunately have to do because I feel like that's what they have to do. Um, this time, the election cycle is really interesting. We've got sort of admitted secular candidates. The leading Democrat is Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is pretty much running away with this thing, and I'd be very surprised if anybody overtook
Yeah, it's
him
going to
at
be
this
Bernie.
point.
I think it seems like it's going to be Bernie versus Trump,
Bernie and
right?
Trump. Yeah,
Who do you think
Bernie
is
and
going to
Trump.
win, Bernie versus Trump?
So I think I know the Democratic elite thinks that Bernie can't beat Trump. I think he can. And there's reasons for that, and they're very similar to the things I've learned from religious demagogues. The way that persuasion works, the way that rhetoric works, the way the cults of personality and charisma work on just voters and people. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I think Bernie can beat Trump. I don't think that Bernie has the kind of coattails to help other candidates, like people running Senate races and House races.
I think Bernie has the
go into
highest
Senate,
chance
but
among. I don't know if Bernie is going to win against Trump or not. And anybody that thinks is 100% certain that Trump is going to win or Bernie is going to win, they have no idea what they're talking about. But I do think, and I'm not sure about this, among all the Democratic candidates right now, putting Bernie against Trump has the highest chance of winning against Trump than any other candidate. I think Trump could destroy the other candidates easier than Bernie.
I disagree with this, and this is an unpopular opinion.
Okay.
Virtually nobody I know agrees with me on this. I think that in 2016, liberals got such a shock when Trump won. Nobody thought he was going to win, and including himself, he didn't think he was going to win either. And when he won, it was such a shock that now there's this paranoia. They're like, no matter what the polls say, no matter what happens, no matter what we're seeing, what the data shows, no, we can't be shocked like that again. So there's this sort of overcompensation for it. But the thing is, upsets happen. The one thing about upsets is that
We're not talking about things that could happen. We're talking about what's the most likely, right?
So what's the most? And this is what I'm trying to tell you. What's the most likely? I think that any of the Democratic candidates can beat Trump right now.
You're not listening though.
No, they're likely to.
No, I didn't say
they're likely to.
Okay, all of them are likely to, but who's most likely? That's what I was saying.
That's a different question. Who's
That's
most
what
likely
I said.
to?
I'm saying from among all the Democratic, yes, any one of them could win against Trump, okay, and any one of them could lose against Trump. But who has the most potential to win against Trump? I think it's Bernie.
I think it's several of them. I think Bernie has it just because of the way he is.
But based on the definition of most, the answer cannot be several, right? Like it cannot be several of them have the most. That's not how most works.
I think Bernie and Biden are both sort of equally likely to be able to beat Trump.
Equally, completely. That's not mathematically possible.
No, there's no way I can say it that's equally. But the thing is, if Bernie is a candidate versus is a nominee versus if Biden is a nominee, like just going by the data,
Trump. Really, you think Biden versus Trump has almost the same chance as Bernie versus Trump? No way. No way. Biden is like, there's no passion. I mean, he doesn't excite people. I'm not saying he can't win. Obviously, he can win against Trump. I'm just saying Bernie.
Equally likely, yes.
Equally likely. That is wrong. I think Bernie.
I don't think Biden's going to be the nominee.
I know, but we're not talking about that. That's also proof that he's not that.
So
he doesn't have that much passion. He doesn't excite people as much as Bernie does. So I think Bernie.
I know, but there are different things. There's different things about it. Okay, so first of all, only about 29% of the U.S. electorate is on Twitter and is online. Of the Democrats. The majority of Democrats are much older. They tend to be more conservative. So now the places where Trump won because of 3 states. He won because of Michigan, Wisconsin, and for Ohio, Pennsylvania. Like these are the 4 places that he won. The Rust Belt states, that's where he won. He won by about 80 to 90,000 votes in those areas. So the thing is, if you go by the 2018 midterms, and I'm not going to get too granular in this, and all of the seats that the Democrats flipped, if you go by that data and if you go by overall state by state data, not national data, but state by state, Biden actually has a very, very good chance of beating Trump.
Until you put him against Trump in national debates.
Data-wise.
No. I'm not talking. Of course, data matters, but
data-wise, Biden is more likely to beat Bernie. That's why they want to stop Bernie.
No, of course. Listen. Data. I'm not ignoring data, but data doesn't tell you what's going to happen after Trump wipes the floor with Biden, right? So the data right now is like the data right now means like if you have an election right now, what will happen? The data right now is not going to tell you what's going to happen after you put Trump in multiple debates against Biden and people saying how easily Trump destroys Biden in every goddamn debate.
So first of all, I don't think Trump's going to easily destroy Biden at all. I completely disagree with that. The second thing, there's two angles. The reason I said they're
and by the way,
likely,
in the same way, I think Bernie will destroy Trump. I think Bernie will.
I think it's more easy to say.
I think if you put Trump against Biden, Biden will have no idea how to deal with Trump, and Trump will destroy him. And I think if you put Bernie against Trump, Bernie is going to look really good. I think Bernie will destroy Trump. And again, this is not like I'm not saying whether Bernie's policies are good or not, which we could get to later. But I'm just saying Bernie is going to look really good. He's not if you put him next to Trump. And
you're right.
I can't wait for those debates. Man, this is going to be
I know.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So entertaining to watch Bernie versus Trump. Like, it's going to be the best entertainment of 2020
on TV from
I don't know Westworld or Armin, wait, hold on. Let me just say Westworld versus debates between Trump and Bernie. I don't know which one is going to be more exciting. I think the best entertainment of 2020 is going to be the debates. But go on.
Okay, so when it comes to the debates, I agree with you. I think that look is going to be Bernie versus Trump. The other thing is the debates have not figured. They haven't really moved the needle much nowadays. Like this year, they're not playing that much.
What are you talking about? Okay? Biden is falling like a rock because of the debates.
No. He's not falling because of the debates. He's not falling because of debates. He's falling because of completely other reasons. There were many, many debates that happened, and he stayed resilient. He stayed on top. Anyway, that's another story. That's what the issue is. That's why the debates are not having an effect. Even in 2016, Hillary Clinton was widely thought to have wiped the floor with Trump in all three debates, but at the end he won. So that's not what it's about. The debates are a minor part of this. The second thing is I think Biden and Bernie are equally likely to win over Trump for different reasons. For Bernie, it's what you're saying. I think that if you put him up against him, Bernie is a very populist guy. He's got 3 or 4 messages. He's got a concrete story like Trump did. Trump had Make America Great Again,
build the wall, blah, blah.
Bernie's got anti-billionaire, like healthcare, college, all that. So they both have that, and I think that'll be a great thing to see. But Biden, I think, is has a good chance for completely different reasons. And that's the reason they're trying to stop Bernie. The reason that
that's
Trump
not why they're scared of Bernie because of the taxes.
Trump is he went out of his way to dig up opposition stuff on Biden and the Ukraine. He got impeached over it because he knows this. He's going after Bloomberg for the same reason, is because he knows that Bloomberg has a higher chance of beating him the general, even though Bloomberg has virtually, I don't think he can ever win the nomination. That's the first hurdle. Right, but Bernie. I mean, today there was a report that the Russians are actually trying to get Bernie elected. Now, how effective that is, who cares? I agree with you. That's exaggerated.
Be careful with those reports. Those are exaggerated. Yeah,
they're exaggerated. But the thing is that
the Russian ads and stuff. It's not about we're supporting Bernie because we like Bernie. They support whoever is going to cause the most amount of conflict. You know what I mean? They might support Trump at the same time and as Bernie, and they might support like some contradictory candidate with their ads and stuff. Again,
Trump has he has nicknames for everybody, for everyone from Justin Trudeau, Ted,
hard to go after
Marco,
Bernie,
everybody, but never one for Putin. He hasn't had one. He stood next to Putin. He's like, I take him at his word. He's been
what does
very,
he have for
very
Bernie?
nice.
What's his nickname for Bernie?
Crazy Bernie.
Crazy Bernie.
It's called him Crazy Bernie Sanders all the time. Sleepy Joe. Everybody has
the problem with Crazy Bernie is that crazy is not necessarily always seen as a negative thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, the way that Trump says it, Armin.
I know, but a lot of his fans are like, you know what? Yeah, Crazy Bernie, because we need crazy ideas right now.
Yeah, Trump does not. He's not a fan of Bernie, but he is happier to run against Bernie because Bernie is very easy.
Privately, Trump has said that Bernie will give him the most trouble.
Right now,
the reason why they haven't gone after Bernie is that they don't have much. You know, the things, okay, so the problems that the right have with Bernie are stuff that requires econ 101 classes, right? Like you don't have anything against Bernie that you can make into like a one quick powerful one liner, right?
Hmm.
There, you know, if you want to go
Oh
after
no, there
Biden,
is, there
hold on,
is. You
wait,
can
let me,
one thing.
let me, like,
Socialist,
no,
socialist.
it
That's
doesn't
all you
work.
got to
It
do.
doesn't work anymore. That doesn't work anymore. That used to work, right? People
It doesn't
now,
work online,
it doesn't
but
work.
it does work outside of the online social media world. It
I don't know.
does,
I
man.
think the Bernie people want you to accuse them of socialism, but anyways, because they were like, "Well, we're not socialists. We just want the same thing as the Scandinavian country, and they're capitalists." Anyways, but what I'm saying is that it's easy to go like after like Biden, and we're like, "Oh my God, look at him. He can't even talk." Right? Like it's easy to make fun of him. It's easy to make fun of Warren. It's easy to make fun of Buttigieg. It's easy to make fun of all of them. It's not easy to make fun of. Like you have to sit down if you want to tell people why socialism is bad and stuff like that. Even though Bernie is not a socialist technically, but if you want to use that line against them, you have to actually explain things to people in paragraphs and long discussions, and
I don't know.
that's not gonna work.
I think your hunger for the entertainment of watching Bernie and Trump on stage together,
Might make me
maybe
biased.
maybe biasing you a little bit because
Well,
it
that's
is
not.
very easy to make fun of Bernie. It is. It's very
What do
easy to
you
make fun of Bernie.
make fun of him? Go on.
I mean, if for right wing, I'm not going to make. I don't think it's easy to make fun of Buttigieg, for instance. It's a very tough thing for me to do. You can compare him to Alfred E. Newman from Mad because they kind of look alike. Trump has done that, but with Bernie, the right wingers are going to have a blast with it. They're like, oh, okay, so we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. Okay, we're going to give everybody free college and free healthcare and get Wall Street to pay for it. Pie in the sky plan. Like it's very very
That
easy.
doesn't work that much anymore. Again,
It's
by the way, just to let everyone know, I know a lot of our audience will hate me for this. I myself, I'm a libertarian, right? So, and the reason why I would have supported Bernie if I was an American, even though I'm a libertarian, is not because I think his economic policies work. I'm mostly in support of his foreign policy because I think, and also I think the foreign policy of United States affects the lives of more people than whatever internal politics United States has, right? So
hmm
even if I don't think his economics, healthcare or education plans are the the best way to run a country, because I'm a free market capitalist. And again, I think Bernie is also a free market capitalist, just the Scandinavian version of it. So, but he doesn't want to say that because he does enjoy the support of socialists and he doesn't want to lose them. Um, but I do, but
I think he would say that. He
mm,
says a lot of things
he
that
never.
causes him to lose.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He never says like, "Listen, I'm a capitalist." He doesn't say that, even though he is. He doesn't say like,
Hmm.
"Look, listen, what I support is not socialism. It's just
But he doesn't think of
It's
himself that way.
regulated." Well, but he knows that's what it is. He knows that the Scandinavian country are not socialist country. They're regulated capitalist country, right? But anyways, but what I'm saying is that whatever Bernie does in the United States when it comes to healthcare, education, taxes, that's going to only affect Americans. But what he does when it comes to the Middle East and China and Russia and other places, that's going to affect more people on a global scale. And I think
I agree with
from a
that.
utilitarian perspective, that's because I care about the people of the planet as a whole, right? Not just one country. So I think on that perspective, I support Bernie because there has been no other person that I know of in U.S. politics, maybe other than Rand Paul, or both the father and the son, that have been so consistently against
Foreign
intervention. Well, I'm not a non-interventionist, right? So I do believe that maybe it's like some, against troops, like complete armies, having armies everywhere. I do think United States could still maintain like special ops, and intelligence agents around the world, which is very tiny compared to what we have right now. Intelligence agents and special ops is fine with cooperations of NATO and the armies of other countries and the UN. That's fine, but bring all the goddamn troops and everything home. You know how much money you're gonna save to spend on whatever the hell you want. You know how much like you're gonna save trillions of dollars you could pay for your healthcare, education, and probably one other thing combined, right? So.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a non-interventionist. Another form of intervention that I would have supported, and again, this might be naive, and you guys could comment and tell me why this is naive. I think United States could influence other countries' foreign politics with trade, right? Again, this will never happen because it's not like United States actually gives a crap about human rights. But if I was like in charge of something of all the politics, I would be like, listen, we're gonna grade countries based on their human rights, and we're gonna put tariffs on countries that have poor human rights, and we're gonna offset that by the trade that we're gonna lose from that by removing all barriers, but to trade by countries that have good human rights. So no barriers to trade with any country that has good human rights record, and lots of barriers to countries with poor human rights record, like Saudi Arabia and China. Yeah, that's going to be really devastating to have like trade barriers with China, right? Because that's huge. But we could offset that loss in trade by having none barriers of trade to like all of Europe and any other country that has good human rights record. That's what I would do.
They're saying,
right, yeah.
Apostate Prophet is saying, why can't I make a super chat?
I don't know.
Super chats
I don't know. I think YouTube hates us. I don't understand what the hell's going on.
Okay. So I want to tell
guys, if you can't make a super chat, there's a link here on Patreon in the description. Please support us on Patreon. Become a patron. Yeah. I don't know what's happening to our monetization. Yeah. But thank you. I'll look into that, Apostate Prophet. And thank you for being...
by the way,
yeah.
On the foreign policy angle, and I want to get into that later as well after we discuss like all the rest of the candidates and we talk about the secularism angle. We're going to get into that, and we're also going to get to some of your questions that on the live chat. We're following it. We're going to get to that in around the last 30 minutes or so. But I want to tell you, so you've said that you support Bernie out of all of them. I don't really have a clear favorite yet. I haven't. If I was American, I'd be sort of undecided at this point and just waiting to see how things turn out. But I do want to tell you a story. I like Bernie. Right, and I think he can beat Trump. But I want to share this one quick story. If you have some, if you can bear with me for a little bit, to tell you how this has happened before. Okay, so there was a time, you had this like very unethical, messed up sort of Republican who was in the White House. Okay, economy was very strong, right? And then, and this was this was Richard Nixon, right, in 1972. And then what happened is you had the Democratic primary. And there was this guy who was a relatively centrist establishment candidate who was leading in the polls the entire time, just like Biden was, leading in the polls the entire time. And what happened is that when the primaries actually started, he started losing. He wasn't doing very well. So ultimately, who comes up? Who comes up is a left-wing guy from he was this guy from, I think he was from Massachusetts, right? His name was George McGovern. Super, super liberal, wanted single-payer health care, wanted redistribution of wealth, to change the entire tax code. And people just rallied around him. He was very, very charismatic, just like Bernie Sanders. His name was George McGovern. So the lot of passion around him. Liberals were super excited, ran him against Nixon in 1972. Now, for those of you who are watching this, I'm going to show you the Electoral College map. For those of you who are watching this, okay, from 1972, George McGovern, the last time a Bernie Sanders guy like him. Now, can you see that?
Yeah,
can anybody see that?
But you have to describe it for audio listeners.
So, the red states are the ones that the Republicans win, and the blue, you can see the little blues there? It's just Massachusetts and D.C., all right? Those are the states, the George McGovern one. In terms of the oh shit, my phone the screen just went off. But in terms of electoral college votes, so this guy, George McGovern, he won exactly 17 electoral college votes. You need 270 to win. He got 17. That entire map is red. Everything, California, New York, every liberal state, every conservative state,
So what's the
voted for
point?
Nixon.
What's the point you're trying to make?
The point is that this is the reason, this electoral college map. Also, for those of you guys who are watching this, look up the electoral college map in 1984, Reagan against Mondale.
Okay,
look
what's the point?
one.
What's the point, though?
I'm coming to it, Armin.
Okay.
Just,
I'm not patient.
Just bear
I'm
with
not
me
a
for a
very
little
patient person.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, patience is an overrated virtue anyway.
Good.
The point is this, that the reason that the Democratic establishment, right, the reason they have these super delegates and everything, and they are trying to stop Bernie Sanders, and they are terrified of him winning the nomination, is that they don't want 1972 or 1984 to happen again.
I don't think so.
Okay? The problem is that the
They
parallels,
they don't
everything
want
I'm telling
Bernie
you...
because he's not a Democrat. He is against money
Armin,
in politics. He's going to tax a lot of people that support the Democratic.
They will support Warren. They will support Warren in a second.
Warren keeps changing her everything. Like Warren dances the dance if they want her to. Like Warren plays ball.
But
Bernie doesn't. Bernie is hard to play with. Bernie is like,
that's another reason that they don't want him, because the thing is, in the
he's
U.S.,
not a
the US is,
like, he doesn't like. He was going to if he's going to completely destroy the Democratic Party and replace them with his own kind of people. Like
I gotta say,
that's why
love
they don't
Bernie.
like. Yeah, they don't.
I love Bernie.
They don't like him because of that.
But
he's
going to
he's going to change the Democratic Party the same way Trump completely changed the Republican Party.
And here's the problem. The United States is not a liberal or progressive dictatorship. So when you're saying he's not going to play with anybody, he's not going to compromise, he brags about that. He actually brags about not compromising. But the thing is, the United States is a country where roughly 50% of the government will be the same people that all of the sort of leftist woke people block on Twitter and don't want to talk to them. Those are the people you have to work with.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing that he does that. I'm just saying that's why they don't want him. That's why they don't want him, because...
No. Armin, the reason they don't want him is clear. There's much more that Bernie and Warren have in common than they have apart. In fact, they have virtually all of their policies that they're talking about they have in common. In fact,
I don't know. The most important thing that I care about Warren was not... And I know we have Warren fans in the live chat, but Warren funded Trump's increase of the military budget. Like
sure.
Like like that was the most important thing, and she got that wrong. Like I don't know how you do that.
Yeah,
like Trump was like, hey, give me more money for the military, and Warren was like, actually, he's more than what you asked for. Like what? Like how do you do that?
Listen.
That's the most important thing. And Bernie was on the right side of that, and Warren wasn't. That is the most important thing.
Not to get too granular about this, but the thing is, the way that these bills are done is when they put up a military budget, for instance, they will also add in what's a big part of that will also be health care for veterans.
Yeah, but that is
the soldiers. The money that's paid to the families of the soldiers, all of these things. So when that happens, it's not a decision between this is good or this is bad.
But that is the most important thing.
It's a decision between bad and worse,
but
right?
That is but you can't get any more.
Those are the tough decisions. And I'm standing up for Warren here because I think, I'm not saying that, I would have voted the same way. I don't know enough about the details, but the overall, Bernie, you can point out Bernie has sort of lax things on gun control, for instance. That's something that people have a problem with.
I'm not, by the way, I might look like, a lot of people might think like I agree with everything Bernie did. There's many things that I don't like that Bernie did.
Exactly.
But overall, Bernie,
I'm telling you, they have more in common. They have more in common, way more in common than they have apart. But the Democratic establishment would be like a pig in shit if Warren became the candidate. They'd all line up behind her. They won't be after Bernie, even though the policies are virtually identical. Why? because of that electoral college map I showed you in
By the way,
1972. This is exactly
the
what
counter
happened.
that people give to you is like, oh, like a lot of people are saying we can't have like a so far lefty like Bernie to he because the Democrats are not that far left. We need somebody more moderate. A lot of people say like, well, we tried that with Hillary and it didn't work. So a lot of people might say that, right?
Okay.
So
That's a false
I know.
argument, though.
That's why I didn't say I say it. That's why I said a lot of people will
Yeah.
say that, right?
But I'll actually talk about why that's really quickly why that's a false argument. A false argument is that when we have had people like Bernie in the past, you've got maps like 1972 and 1984,
That's
where
okay,
50.
but it's not.
Hold on. 49 out
You
of
already
50
said
states
that.
or
You
whatever.
already said that. But I just
Yeah.
want to point out the reason why you're wrong on that is because you're, this is not statistic. Your examples are not statistically significant, right? You can't treat things that happen.
There aren't enough elections to bring statistically
Exactly.
significance
Well,
into
that's
it.
my
But-
point. That's my point. You can't just be like, "Oh, this happened this many years ago, and this is why this is like." This,
yeah, but you're responding
can't-
to the argument that Hillary ran before, and
Yeah,
that's
that's-
why it's gonna. They're doing the same thing.
Yeah, they're
when you're
doing the same thing.
responding
I'm
to
just
that
saying
argument,
that. I mean, come on. At the age when we are living at the age of Trump, right? Like, isn't Trump proof that past trends are not indicating any good model for predicting future trends? Like, isn't that
That's
the best?
right.
So you can't be like, oh, this happened. Like, for anything to be statistically significant, you need at least 30 examples, at least. And if the numbers are the variation between the numbers are high, you need way more than 30 samples.
You need, but the thing is that there are
wait, hold on.
factors
So
that
the
come
interesting
in. They
thing is,
don't-
wait, let me finish my thought. So the interesting thing is that a lot of people, not only they don't do 30, not only they don't do 15, not only they don't do 5, they do 1. They're like, oh, look, this is what happened in 1980, whatever. So this could be like, so let's learn from that, and this might happen now. Like, really,
apostate.
based on one example, like how is that? Like, how does that work? But go on, sir.
Yeah, Apostate Prophet is saying Elizabeth Warren is a woman. The messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that a nation that makes a woman their leader will not be successful. Thank you, Apostate Prophet. I mean, this is why we have him in the chat, is to remind us of these highest scriptural edicts, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, that's fantastic.
Peace
anyway,
be
so,
upon
so generally I think there's a lot of reasons. So when you're talking about the moderate thing, the reason that a lot of them want somebody more moderate is because the one thing that Democrats cannot win elections in the United States without the swing states. They can't. You just can't. It's not going to happen. Hillary lost.
It's very
because
likely
even
that
though she got
Trump is
3
going to
million
win.
more
By the
votes,
way, a lot of people.
even though she got 3 million,
That's why it's very, very likely that Trump is going to win. Like, a lot of people think that it's like a lot of Bernie supporters think like if they get Bernie, then it's a done deal and he's going to win. And I think they're underestimating how difficult this might become. I don't know, by the way. So we'll see.
And that, Armin, that's why I think that Biden and Bernie are equally likely to beat Trump for completely different reasons. Because Biden, people in swing states love Biden. They love him. Wisconsin, he's from Scranton, Pennsylvania. He's got their stories. He's been going to their churches and all that shit for decades. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, these guys love him.
But you saw what happened with the polls with Biden. The polls were like in Iowa and New Hampshire. The polls were saying Biden is like going to win and he's on top until he started talking and doing debates. He doesn't bring the passion. He was
leading throughout the debates for months and months with the debates. Every time he would screw up the debates, he stayed in the lead
because there's a delay in the effect, obviously.
No, but you know where he lost? He lost well, we're not going to get into the details of the Iowa caucuses, but it's a kind of thing where people get together in gyms and they publicly decide what they want to do. Iowa is about 90% white and New Hampshire is about 93% white. Biden's main support comes from minorities, right? So a lot of times the people so the two states that kind of lead the whole primary process tend to not be representative of the Democratic Party, just demographically. But unfortunately, all the momentum comes out of there.
So, by the way, we need to get into we need to get to atheism and secularism and how that's relevant. But before I do that, I just want to say something. First of all, I want some Trump supporters to explain to me how one of the most important reasons why people voted for Trump was keeping out of, not meddling, not spending so much money on in the Middle East and everywhere else, like bring the troops home and all that. How do they still continue supporting Trump when not only he didn't pull any troops or anything, he increased it. He increased the spending, he increased the involvement, he increased the wars. How are they still supporting Trump after all that? That's
I'm
one
going
thing
to
I
put
want to know.
myself in the mind of a Trump supporter, and I'll tell you that if I was a Trump voter in 2016, I'd be very happy right now. And I'd be very excited about voting for him again.
Yeah,
And I'll tell
you're
you why.
talking about.
First of all,
Before I'm gonna predict what you're gonna say. You're talking about the Christian supporters of Trump.
no, not just.
It-
Supposing I'm an atheist. Supposing
okay,
even
okay.
if
Why?
I'm an atheist,
Tell me.
I would support him because a lot of things that he said he would do, apart from the wall and getting Mexico to pay for it and some of that stuff. I'll tell you the number one reason. I'm a conservative who voted for Trump. Okay, even if I'm not religious, this guy appointed 2 super conservative justices to the Supreme Court. And this is going to actually segue into our religious secular thing. And this, I want everybody to hear this. Okay, the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay, if Trump gets reelected, it's very likely it'll be a 7-2 majority, conservative majority Supreme Court. Again, a 7-2 conservative majority Supreme Court. That means that their justices already, a majority of justices there, that have said that they don't think the wall between church and state is legitimate. They think that that's all misinterpreted. Like Kavanaugh, we had Andrew Seidel here tell us about it.
You're talking about most of the Christians. I'm talking about the people that are the people. I'm talking specifically about the people that their number one priority was not meddling in other countries.
I'm getting to that. So that's one thing, okay? Even if you're not a Christian, that's a really big thing. Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. All of that stuff is
That's
gone.
Christian stuff.
Right. Yeah. The second thing is the economy is doing really well. If you're starting a business, if you're an entrepreneur in the U.S., I've got a lot of my family, they're privileged. I'm not going to, lie about that. They tend to, there are many guys in my family who've recently started their own businesses in the U.S. They live in the U.S. They like all the Trump stuff. They like the tax cuts they got. They like how easy it was for them to be able to start their own businesses and keep as much of the money as they're making as possible. They really like it.
Okay,
and they support
what about
that.
the non-interventionists? Get to that.
Okay, so I know. I'll get to that. That's another thing. So a lot of the things that he said he would do, right, he has actually done, specifically with the economy and the Supreme Court. When it comes to trade, okay, people who, and by the way, Bernie and Trump are actually aligned on a lot of their views on trade. Yeah. Okay,
I'm
against
both of them on that. But go on.
I know. Even the Democrats support the new NAFTA thing he did, like the USMCA.
Yeah. Okay.
People Americans are happy about it, including the Democrats, right? And then when it comes to the foreign intervention thing, he went and he killed Soleimani in Iran. Okay, people really like that in the U.S., so we're happy about it. The second thing is that even when he did the intervention, the other sort of mini half-ass intervention he did in Syria, where he kind of, even the Iran thing, I mean, he bombed, like when he went and then nobody really killed anybody. You know how that whole thing settled. He hasn't really been as interventionist as Obama or any of these guys, with the exception of Yemen, right? That's what you're going to say?
No.
Okay.
Everywhere. He increased the troops, like he's in Iraq, in Syria, in Yemen, in Afghanistan. He's been continuing or increasing the intervention.
It's not a fraction of what even Obama.
What do you mean actually it's not a fraction? He increased the drone strikes.
Obama dropped bombs in 7 Muslim majority countries. People were really, really outraged about that.
But
Bush,
Trump
no explanation.
Continues. All of that is continuing under Trump.
A lot of that's continuing under Trump, yeah. And I don't think it's going to continue against Sanders too, by the way.
Actually, that's what I want to see. I want Sanders to win, because if he can't discontinue all of this stuff, then all that theories that the military-industrial complex is way too powerful for any president to stop, then all of that will become confirmed. Because if Sanders doesn't stop that, then nobody, I think, can stop that. I don't
Do you
know.
know what I think?
So I don't know if he can stop it or not, but I want to test it. I want to see if Sanders is president. I want to see if there's anybody that could go against the military-industrial complex, because that will prove to me that if Sanders becomes president and all of these wars and everything continues, it will prove to me that they're untouchable and it's irrelevant who's president, right?
I think this is what happens when people get elected president. So you've had very sort of like leftist type president. I mean, Barack Obama started his campaign in the living room of William Ayers, the Weather Underground guy, who was supposed to be a hyper left-wing terrorist, and he got a lot of flack for it. And they were calling him a socialist and painting Hitler mustaches on him too. He started that way. I think what happens to these guys is they get elected and they say, we're not going to intervene anymore. We got to end all these dumb wars. They go into their office, then they have their first intelligence briefing. And the CIA people and the NSC people and the FBI, all these people come in and they're like, sir, okay, now for your eyes only, here it is. This is what's been going on. This is everybody who's out to get to the US, and here's all the details. And then they look at that report, and I'm pretty sure their first reaction is, oh, fuck. It's like, there's all the promises that I made to my campaign and everything, and now, holy shit, this is serious stuff. I feel like, I think that's what happens. That never changes.
So that hasn't changed, but that's the theory. That's a hypothesis, and the only way to test that hypothesis is to put the one man that has been so consistently against all of this in office to test if you're right. To test that there's like anybody that sees the report, they will realize or see what they're dealing with, or see that the power of the people that they're dealing with, they realize that this is they can't do anything. So I don't know if what you're saying is true or not. That is basically
I don't know either, but it just seems
like it. That's why I want this to be tested. That's why I want Bernie to be president because that will prove it to me that there's nothing you can do.
I will be very happy, and I don't agree with all of Bernie's policies. I'm more aligned, I think, with Andrew Yang, with Joe Biden, these guys like this. But I would be so happy if Bernie became president,
right?
And I really hope he does. I don't think he will also help the Democrats win a majority Senate or even a majority House. I don't know what's going to happen on that end.
If Bernie wins, and none of these wars stop, to me, then there's no point ever to vote ever in U.S. elections ever again. Right now, a lot of studies show that the people that vote really what they want really has much less of an influence than what the lobbyists want. So it already seems like their vote is irrelevant. But if this happens, that means that it's completely irrelevant. But here's another thing. The reason I'll give you the answer to my own question. The reason why I think the non-interventionist Trump supporters continue to support him is because the way people are dumb, okay? But here's the stupidity that when it comes to intervention. If you let's say your country is already involved in 8 wars, right? And you become president, even if you double your involvement in these 8 wars, people think like, oh, we were in 8 wars and we're still in 8 wars. Right? Even if you double the involvement in all of these 8 wars. Like, that's how their mind works, right? But if you were in 8 wars and reduce the influence that you have, reduce the involvement that you have in 8 wars by half, so you're half involvement in all of them, but increase one tiny more, one troops and one more, like 9. Now you're in 9, right? So now you're doing 9 wars. But overall, your involvement is less. People are like, we were involved with 8 wars, now we're involved in 9 wars, right? So they don't know how to do math, like they don't actually know how to measure the influence. So the reason why I think they don't feel like Trump is more involved is because he hasn't really started anything new, right? Like he's doing more deals with Saudi Arabia, but those and he's responsible for supporting the greatest humanitarian crisis in history in Yemen. But those don't grab
No, I
headlines.
would say history, but in the
No,
world right now.
not in history. In our lifetime. Sorry, I mean in history. In our lifetime. Sorry, that was wrong. Yeah, in our lifetime. But people don't. That doesn't get as much news. That doesn't sound as big of a deal, or doesn't grab the headlines as much as we're going to war with another country. Like that would be like headline news, right? So even if it's so, I think that's why it doesn't feel like he's into like, and he comes and says like, oh, we're pulling the troops out of Iraq. I'm like, oh my God, he's doing the promise that, yeah, we're coming out. And then he doesn't pull them out. But the fact that he said it, that gets a lot of attention with his supporters. But then when he doesn't pull them out, the fact that he said he's going to pull them out and he didn't, that doesn't get much attention. They just remember him saying that he's pulling them out. So they're just dumb. I just think that's what it is.
Okay.
They're just dumb.
So we have a comment here from an amateur's astrophotography. Great name. He's saying, or she's saying, or they, I don't know. Voter turnout is. Can everybody put their pronouns on here so that we know how to?
No, please don't do that.
Just relax.
I know.
Don't do that. I'm just so he's saying, voter turnout is huge so far in this primary. Bernie will win in 2020. That's a really good point. So one of the things, when we talk about Hillary lost. She got 3 million more votes than Trump, but she lost. And it's like, why did Trump win? Trump won because of this, because of this. Sure, all those reasons are true. But the number one reason Trump won was because of Democrats, because of black people, because of Hispanics, because of women, because they stayed home. All the polls were showing Hillary has a 99% chance of winning. It's a shoo-in. People didn't really feel very excited about Hillary anyway. They're like, she's going to win anyway, whatever. Why should I leave home? I'm just going to stay in. And people didn't vote, and they didn't come out, and they were very comfortable. Hey, we just elected a black president for 2 terms, okay? We've done it. America's now post-racial. We've solved the whole racism problem. We've moved forward. We are now progressive. There's no chance in hell that Trump's going to win. None of the data shows it. Let's talk about transgender pronouns, and let's talk about veganism, and let's talk about all these things. Not to say that those issues aren't important, but what happened is that they mistook. They thought that, okay, the U.S., they thought that this was a huge transformation, and it wasn't a transformation. It was the first fragile step to a change. And when the way the change happens is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And then you ended up having 1 step back. So now there's a fire under the asses of liberals. And Bernie is benefiting from this. If there's a turnout election, if this is all about turnout and people coming up in huge numbers, then Bernie is a populist guy. He'll win. That's why he won Iowa as well. That's why he's surging in all these early primaries. It's because it all comes down to turnout. And when it comes to expanding your base, trying to reach out and get crossover votes and things like that, that's a total different deal. That's not something that would be Bernie's strength necessarily. That would probably be a Biden strength or Bloomberg's strength. But if it's a turnout thing, if we want turnout, Bernie can actually win. And if he actually gets a VP candidate who's more moderate and young and a woman like Klobuchar, for instance, who he's very good friends with apparently and has worked with together many times, they can really that can coalesce.
Okay, we're getting too much into like technical stuff, but let me.
That's my view of this, but that's all I have to say.
Skeptical
Mantis. Sorry, one last programming note. Skeptical Mantis is asking, do you guys watch Street Epistemology? The last episode, most recent episode we did was with Anthony Magnabosco. He was on this podcast, and we talked about street epistemology, and it was fucking phenomenal. It was a great episode. So watch out for that. That's going to... if you're listening to this...
Yuval is asking, but what about Bernie's support for Linda Sarsour? That was one of the most dumbest thing that Bernie has ever done. But... The second to... The dumbest thing that Bernie has ever said... and again, a lot of his supporters are like, "Oh, out of context." I listened to this many times in context, before, after his explanation of it. Nothing makes it sound good. Like I've listened to the whole thing. It's dumb. It's the dumbest thing he's ever said. Come at me if you don't agree with this. Like, tell me why you think this is okay. He said, white people don't know what it feels like to be poor.
Yeah,
there's zero excuse. Like even if you're a Bernie supporter, come on, man, you have to call this out. Don't be like a cult supporter of somebody and think like they can't do wrong. This was the dumbest thing he's ever said. When he said white people don't know what it feels like to be poor, that was racist, that was ignorant, that was so goddamn stupid. Like, and you should own it. As a Bernie supporters, you have to accept that was dumb. What?
That is also why he's going to have a lot of trouble in those Rust Belt states. If you say, because there's a lot of poor white people, there's a lot of opioid addicted white people, people who've lost their manufacturing jobs. There's a lot of white people who have high suicide rates and high depression rates, and they're watching brown people at Harvard talk about how they're underprivileged, and that makes them run to Trump if they're not acknowledged. So that is also another reason that Trump won,
to be fair to him, compared to a lot of other Democrats, this time around, he has resisted playing the identity politics game.
Yes.
Right?
And that's a really important...
I think that's something they're learning, that like, okay, this is... I think they're learning that the identity politics side of this thing is very toxic, and just don't go there. And I'm liking that now, this time around, about Bernie's campaign.
Yeah, and you know what? And we just talked about Linda Sarsour. I wanted to say this, and this is very relevant to, especially to atheists and agnostics, and also to ex-Muslims, right, and liberal Muslims. Is Linda Sarsour, he kind of embraced her because she helped him win Michigan. She helped him really kill it in Michigan 2016.
But he continued again after they pointed out how toxic she is.
But here's the thing about Bernie, and this is how he is different actually from Warren, is that he doesn't have a lot of tolerance for identity politics, right? And there's two things here, that even though AOC is supporting him and Linda Sarsour and Ilhan Omar are supporting him, guess who else supports him? Armin Navabi, the libertarian. Joe Rogan, right? The podcaster who they all think is a transphobe and a racist and everything. And by the way, I love Joe Rogan. I've been on his show. I think that's all bullshit.
AOC seems to be pulling back a little bit on the support, but go on.
The Bernie campaign made a commercial out of Joe Rogan's endorsement.
Yeah.
And they posted it up and they never took it down, even though they got a lot of backlash. So this guy is not ideologically inert, where he's just kind of like narrowed, focused really narrowly into a certain kind of demographic that he wants to hone in on. He's not doing that. He's not just playing the progressive card. He is willing to bring all kinds of people under his
This is also why I
tent.
really, really don't like Warren. By the way, sorry to the Warren fans in our audience, but she just doubled.
Like Warren.
No, she doubled down on, like, I'm a woman. Woman can do. She didn't even say that woman can do this. She said, like, we need a woman to clean up woman can clean up this mess. Like, she said, woman can clean up this mess. First of all, if anybody else said this, they would be like, what? That's sexist against women. You're talking about woman and cleaning? But she can say it. But, like, seriously, no, she's like, only a woman know how to clean up a mess. So, like, what? No, stop talking about women. Like, are you serious? Like, what? Like, you really, like, honestly, like, the fact that she keeps mentioning that she's a woman and how great women are, like, stop it. Like, stop it. Like, I hate that Warren is doing
I do.
I love the fact that Warren tried to attack Bernie with misogyny.
And it backfired.
Because that was to me, that was the moment that the whole woke cult and the leftist woke culture, that was the tipping point, I think.
Let's stop calling woke leftist, because I really don't want to. I know.
I said, okay.
I know it came out of the left, but we have to start like.
No, Ali. No. When I say far right, I'm not accusing of all the right of being like the far right. Just because I'm using the word right and far right.
It is left. It came out of the left.
So if I say the woke left, I'm not saying. Just like when you say far right, that doesn't mean that you're talking about all of right. When you say the woke left, that doesn't mean you're talking about all of the left. So I'm okay with
go
that.
ahead.
So, but I'm saying, I think, like, because when we say very left, we're talking about two completely different type of people. We're talking about the very left economically, like people that are supportive of Bernie, but also very left when it comes to woke cultish stuff, right?
Yeah.
And these two groups are not necessarily the same thing.
No,
They used to be.
I get it, but get back to Warren. Get back to
But
Warren.
I'm just saying
I
that
like that.
by Warren attacking Bernie, that separation between the very left when it comes to the economical sense and very left when it comes to like the woke cult, the separation of them was complete. Because when you go after
Right.
Bernie with with accusations of misogyny, that's the best way to alienate the people on the left from this whole identity politics nonsense. So that was beautiful. Like I wanted Warren to do that, so that
Yeah.
more people on the left get tired and frustrated with this whole with this.
And
woke cult.
I tend to agree. That's one thing I don't really like about Warren and some of the progressive. And it's a hard balance to strike because the thing is, the U.S. it is a fact, and this is actually a pretty shameful fact, unfortunately, that there's 45 male presidents and a woman has never been elected. Even in Pakistan, we've had a woman, but Bangladesh has had 2 women elected. Indonesia's had women.
Who gives
No,
a flying crap?
No, it's you do give it. I do. I
do.
do because it's one of those because there is a reason. It's not like they didn't get elected just out of chance. There is a reason for a very long time that they didn't, right? And to this day, so I think that if a woman did get elected, it should be celebrated just because a woman was elected, right? I do think that.
There's Okay, go on.
Let me just finish. So I do think, for instance, the fact that Pete Buttigieg. So let's remember who leads in the delegate count right now. It's not Bernie. Right? Bernie's leading in the votes. But the guy who's actually winning the primaries and the way that it matters, delegate counts, right now, the guy in the lead is Pete Buttigieg. And that is insane. This is an openly gay married man, right, from Indiana, from like essentially a red state, who's leading it. And it's not just about the identity politics. Forget about the fact that if you forget about the fact that he's gay, he's absolutely brilliant. He's a military veteran. He's a Rhodes Scholar. He went to Harvard. He did all of this, and he's a brilliant guy. But the fact that he's winning as an openly gay man is actually something to celebrate. Okay, that does not mean we fetishize it. That's the problem.
So the way what we celebrate is not the fact that they are gay or woman. What we celebrate is that it didn't matter. That's what we celebrate.
So we're saying the same thing.
I know we're saying the same thing, but this is a very important difference, right? We don't. If a woman becomes like president, we don't celebrate the fact like, hey, somebody with the different genitals, like, oh, it's great, like, oh, we needed different genitals in the White House, like, yay. No, we celebrate the fact that it wasn't an issue. But a lot of people take it the other side and make it an issue and celebrate that. Like, we want a woman, it has to be a woman, or it has to be, like, as much as I don't like Buttigieg, the fact that I celebrate the fact that his gayness is not an issue.
You don't like Buttigieg?
No, I don't.
That's surprising. I thought you did.
No.
Okay, but
I like okay, this is the difference. Like,
we're saying the same thing. We're just saying it different ways.
But this is the difference between Buttigieg and Warren. Buttigieg is not. I mean, as far as I know, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. Buttigieg is not saying like, "Hey, I'm gay. Put a gay person. Let's have a gay president," right? Buttigieg is saying like, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter that I'm gay or not. That's what we're celebrating. That the fact that somebody that is gay can run as president, and it doesn't seem to influence the support. I mean, it does, but if it didn't, it would be great, right? We should do the same thing with a woman. Like, if a woman is running, and the fact that if she's doing poorly, we should. Okay, here's how I would frame it: if a woman is doing poorly, and the fact that she's doing poorly had nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman, we should celebrate that as well. Like, we should celebrate the fact, like, wow, you lost miserably, and it had nothing to do with the fact that you're a woman. That's also a cause. That's also a cause for a celebration, right?
Okay, so
not just winning.
I think there's another. I actually agree with you. It's the fact that it doesn't matter.
Right.
The fact that it doesn't matter. That's what the important thing is. But that is what we celebrate when we say that women.
No,
made it.
that's what you celebrate. A lot of the other
I know,
people
but-
celebrate the fact that they're actually
there's
making it a thing. They're like, we want a woman. We want a gay person in the White House. We want a black person in the White House. So they're over adjusting it on the other side, right?
But I think that a lot of people react to that kind of thing the way that you are, and that's why Warren's thing backfired. And there's another thing. Even the people who tend to say that, that, who was it? I think Kristen Gillibrand, who said that, oh no, all the men should drop out of this race. All the men, only women, people of color should be able to run. And I was just like, that was one of the stupidest things anybody could say, first of all. And the other thing is, even though AOC and Ilhan Omar and all of these people, a lot of their fans are people like that. A lot of the sort of like really hyper woke progressives tend to go out and say, yeah, we need a woman, and all the men should drop out. Who did they eventually endorse? They went for the oldest white guy in the race. They went for Bernie Sanders. They ended up endorsing him. So even deep down at some level, they know that is an unreasonable position.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
they
a lot
didn't
of
endorse
them
any
wish
women.
that. Okay, but a lot of those people, if they had a clone of Bernie that didn't have a penis, that was a different shade, and that was, I don't know, attracted to the same sex, even if it was an exact clone in every other way, exactly the same policies, they would vote for that other person. They would be like, let's vote for biological diversity, which I don't know why.
Yeah, I actually, this is one place where I actually do think the sexist angle, like the fact that things are sexist, is right. If Bernie was a woman, then people would just say, what is this? What? She's just so old and she's always yelling and so angry all the time.
What are you talking about? They say that about him right now.
People would say that. It's so true.
What are you talking about? They
him
say
now.
that about him right now.
Yeah, I know, but if he was a woman, he wouldn't make it, Armin. I'm sorry, he just wouldn't. It would be the
He
most.
would make it
people
more.
Would think.
I don't know.
I'm saying, even to me, I have those sort of like sexist indoctrination in me where I would.
Honestly,
if he was a chick,
I think it's the other way around, Ali. It's the other way around. Like when you go out and say
it exists. It exists.
I know it exists, but
does.
okay, Ali, hold on. It exists, but on a net basis, I think it's the other way around. I think it's more anti-male than anti-female. If we go and say, let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
If you go out and say Bernie is so angry all the time, he's always yelling and has his hands up like crazy old man, people are like, no, he's not. This is why he's angry. This is why it's fine to be angry. But if you go and say like, oh, Warren is so angry all the time, people are like, you goddamn sexist motherfucker! Like, you get accused of everything, right? I honestly think you have it completely backwards. I think
I have it completely backwards.
I
when
think
it comes to
being
how people
white
talk about
male
it on Twitter.
I think being white male is a disadvantage right now, not an advantage.
It doesn't
and I know,
translate like that. Armin, it doesn't translate like that when it comes to votes. At the end of the day, what matters is votes. People say all kinds of things that this is wrong and they virtue signal and all that shit. When it comes to votes, it doesn't end up that way. And when it comes to votes, people who say, if there was a dude who was yelling at Bloomberg the way that Warren was, oh man, the dude would be like, oh my god, he totally kicked her ass. But with Warren,
what are you talking about? Everybody's praising Warren right now. The way she is. You actually disprove what you just said, because right now, hold on. Actually, this is a very good example. Everybody is saying everybody's saying actually Warren, like the people that don't like Warren are like, they're calling him a crazy old man that is angry, and Warren. Even the people that don't like Warren, even the people that are against Warren, are celebrating the way that she destroyed Bloomberg. I haven't seen that many people. People are clapping Warren. People that hate Warren are celebrating her the way she destroyed Bloomberg.
When you said that the majority of the electorate is dumb and people don't know what they want. So Match.com did a study where they looked at the kind of people said they wanted to date and the kind of people they actually clicked on. And it turned out that, for example, women who said they wanted somebody who's just 5 years older than them were actually checking out people way older than that. People who said they wanted to go for another liberal were actually checking out conservative profiles. So actual desires and expressed desires are two very different things. And I'll tell you, the way when this stuff translates into votes, these guys always say, people of color, we want person of color, person of color, person of color. Who is a person of color on the Democratic stage right now that's left after the first two primaries? Who is the non-white person? Nobody.
Well, that's because I agree with that, because most of the left is not the woke left.
Yes,
I was talking about the woke.
No, but they all talk like that. They
don't. Most of the left is not woke. Actually, most of the left, if you talk to them, ask them. But that's
why. But that's why I'm saying that no matter what
you're not saying that. I'm just saying
no matter what anybody says, Armin,
No, they
Warren
say
is
it.
going to.
No, Ali.
It's going to go
This
against
is
her.
not
I'm telling
something
you,
that
it's gonna
they're
go against her.
hiding. No, but you're wrong, because what you're saying is that they say something different than what they want, but they're not, because if you ask most of the left, they are tired of identity politics. They actually say it. They are frustrated with it. Most of the left.
I
is
agree
not-
with that.
Okay, so they
Yes.
actually are saying it. So
Yes.
that's not something that they're hiding. So
Right.
yeah, but okay, but here's another thing.
That's why I think that the Warren thing, when she attacked him,
Hmm.
right, when she attacked Bloomberg, that is going to benefit Bernie a lot more than it's going to benefit her, and we'll see that in the results.
Another
But
thing,
anyway, let's move.
one last thing I just want to point before we go to atheism and secularism, and how this is how that's relevant, because a lot of people think it's not, but obviously me and you think it is. But a lot of people think like Bernie is not winning because if you add up all the moderate points, that's higher than what Bernie is getting. Do you know what I mean? So if you look at if you add up Biden and Buttigieg and Amy and everybody else, and you compare it to Warren and Bernie combined, the moderate percentage is higher than the more left-leaning,
Yeah.
percentage.
I think that was
So they
true about
say-
a week ago.
Yeah, so they're saying that
That's changing
Bernie
fast.
wouldn't have win if it was not such a division between the moderates, right? But that is I think completely wrong, because people are not that smart again. Okay, people are not like. People are going based on personality and who they like, not based on who's the moderate and who's the far left, right? So if you actually look at
Yeah,
a lot of the second choices of people that voting for Biden, if you ask them who their second choice is, it's Bernie. Like, how does that make sense, right? So you're like, oh, so your top pick is a moderate. So who are you gonna pick if that goes? It doesn't go to another moderate. Their second choice is Bernie. So that doesn't make any ideological sense. But that's
Yeah,
not because
and the other thing is
that's
these
because
things
a lot of
change,
people a lot of people don't make much sense, and that means that if you actually remove a lot of moderates, that doesn't necessarily mean that Bernie is going to do worse. That doesn't mean all the moderates are going to go around a single moderate and they're going to defeat Bernie. No, because if you take out Biden and Buttigieg, a lot of those is actually going to go to Bernie. So that's
They actually will, and that's
Yeah.
being shown right now. Another example of what Armin is saying, and I completely agree with you, is things change really fast. People change. I know a lot of moderates who are totally ready to vote for Bernie. It's not really the same the other way around all the time. But for instance, with oh man, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, forget it.
All right, let's go to atheism, secularism, because before you
Okay,
start,
I know.
before
We
you
want to,
start,
so
somebody
I'm gonna
said, okay, go.
I'm going to segue into this with a comment from James Lowerman, right? And he's absolutely right about this. He said, for atheists, the best choice, I think, would have been Yang, but he's out now. And guess who interviewed Yang in 2018? Armin.
Yeah.
Armin, you should post that actually again. Your interview with Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is now a CNN commentator, and
We should have him on.
Because
Can we have him on?
well, let's see if we can reach. He follows me, so I've tried to message him a couple times during the campaign. He's been crazy busy, but I think I'm pretty sure his schedule's gonna be looser now.
Yeah.
So Armin caught up with him actually, and we will put you can go online, you can check out the link. We're going to put it in the description here, and asked him about what he thought about atheists. And Yang he just went on and on. I have a lot of atheist friends. I don't think that just because you're an atheist, that means you're immoral. I mean, he was talking about it so passionately. It was like he's an atheist
Basically,
himself.
I managed to record the first candidate on camera supporting atheists, in history of United States politics. So that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, and it was great. He was actually the last sort of person of color who survived. I hate that term, person of color, but anyway, he actually sort of being a person of color myself and you, but he actually survived right up until the end. He really, really made it up into the top 6 before he had to unfortunately drop out. And I think that we're going to hear a lot more from him. I know that he's
a lot of people,
fantastic.
however, say that atheists. How do we? By the way, when we say how should atheists vote, a lot of people are like, don't tell me how to vote. I vote for whoever I want. Yeah, okay, but it would be a dumb title if we say how we think atheists should vote, and you can still vote for whoever you want, and we're not technically telling you that you have to vote this way. Do you want us?
Nobody's holding a fucking gun to your head.
No, yeah, but do you really when you see a title like that, how should atheists vote? Do you You want us to change the title? Do you think that should be the title?
No,
Like, what
Armin,
the hell?
if I want to express my opinion that spaghetti is amazing, I can't just say, hey, Armin, spaghetti is amazing. I can't say that because then you wouldn't know it was my opinion.
No,
You'd be like, why are you trying to
no.
impose
You
that on
have.
me?
You can be.
I should
You
say,
have to say.
I think that
Yes.
spaghetti, in
Is-
my opinion, and you don't have to
You
agree
don't
with
have
me,
to
and
agree
I'm
with-
not telling you to eat it,
Yeah.
but I think it's
You
amazing.
have to clarify. You have to clarify that this is just your
Yes.
opinion, and you're not forcing everybody to agree with your opinion. If you don't
Yeah,
say
we're
that,
not going to do that. We're not going to do that. So, in any case, we are going to tell you how to vote, all right?
Yeah.
Especially because we're people of color and we're coming here to replace you.
right? But another thing, but this whole mentality that atheism and secularism has nothing to do with the way we should look at voting. This is why Christians are winning in politics, and this is why Muslims are winning in politics, and this is why the Jewish religious people are winning in Israel, because you goddamn idiot secularists don't think like we should get together and organize and sometimes even vote as a bloc. That's why we're irrelevant in politics, okay? That's why that's why the wall between church and state is crumbling all around the world, because you goddamn idiots are just gifting the wall to the religious people to tear down. That's why you guys are doing.
Calling them goddamn idiots is really going to bring us all together. I just wanted to mention. So now there are a lot more people watching this live stream right now than before. So I'm going to reiterate something I said before really quickly. According to a Pew Research poll, published in December 2019, 26% of Americans now are religiously unaffiliated. That means they identify with no religion. They're atheist, agnostic, or just say they have no religion. 26%. Blacks, about 13%, 12%. Hispanics, 12, 13%. Okay, this is the atheist, agnostics, all of you guys, it's the largest minority group in the United States. Atheists, agnostics, free thinkers, largest minority group in the United States. Think about how these politicians go and try to get the black vote and the Hispanic vote and all these other minority groups. And this is the minority group they should be trying to get. Potentially so influential.
Yeah, we're bigger.
Nobody's organizing. Nobody's organizing.
Like, look, there's more of us than there's Jews. But look at the Jews.
Jews. There's more of us than there are Jews and Hindus and Muslims and Asians combined.
Yeah, but all the politicians, they go to the Jews, they go to the Hindus, they go to the Muslims and be like, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do that for you. Nobody goes to like, hey, let's see what the atheists want and what the secularists want. And what should we do? What should we promise them? No politician does that. The reason why no politician does that, because atheists are like, why should we organize? Why should we get together? Oh, we don't want to become like a religion. Okay, fine, don't become like a religion. Just give everything to the religious people and make your country more religious, because you don't want to look like a religion. Why? Because only religious people organize? Because only religious people get together and get shit done? Okay, fine, just let them run your goddamn country.
It's a moral issue. This is Armin. Like, that's amazing. I wish someone would take that. If you're listening, if someone can do this, take what Armin said and what we're talking about over here and make a separate clip out of it. Yeah, and edit that click thing out. Just throw it out there, because this is so important. Like, the organizing aspect is so important. Okay, so now, we have the situation is, first of all, let's just zoom out. Okay, let's assume, and by the time some of you who are hearing this, everything may have changed, because everything changes so fast in politics. But right now, it really looks like this is going to be Bernie versus Trump. And we're saying this before Super Tuesday. Bloomberg could be a factor. Who knows? Right? But it's Bernie versus Trump. Who do you vote for? If you're an atheist, if you care about secularism, if you care about the wall between church and state, and I think Armin and I are aligned on this. Okay, look at what the Christian evangelicals are doing. They're the ones who want to turn the U.S. into a theocracy, and do the opposite. Who do they support 100%? They support Donald Trump. All of them, because Donald Trump is giving them everything they want. When people said, well, Donald Trump is he's probably an atheist, he's so immoral, he makes fun of disabled people, he's had like 3 wives, he cheats pays money to porn stars to shut them up while he's cheating on his 3rd wife, and all of this stuff. Christian evangelicals have said, yeah, whatever. We're still supporting him. And they were right. They were right, because he appointed 2 of the most conservative Supreme Court justices,
You
And
guys
again, if he
gonna
gets
suffer
reelected,
that for years. You're
gonna suffer it.
you in the United States. You're gonna suffer the consequences of the judges years and years and years after Trump is out of office.
7-2
Congratulations.
conservative majority. 7-2 conservative majority is what you're looking at if Trump gets reelected.
Right.
That's what's going to happen.
And
Roe
to
v.
me,
Wade is gone. Church
this-
and state separation gone.
Right.
You're literally at the beginning stages of a Handmaid's Tale
and this
scenario.
is what I don't get.
Not kidding.
This is what I don't get from the anti-Trump people. Okay, the anti-Trump people focus on the wrong things.
Wrong things.
They're like, he said this, so offensive. He tweets this. Doesn't matter, man. None of this.
You're taking the bait.
You're taking, they rarely talk about the fact that he sells weapons to Saudi Arabia knowing that it's going to be used on civilians. They rarely talk about the fact that he's putting these judges in court and he's going to take your rights away and they're going to basically remove this separation between church and state slowly and and for years to come after. Like these are the reasons to be anti-Trump, not because he just said, he misspelled something on Twitter. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Would you not, like, honestly, if he was he could have said every sexist thing that he said, every racist thing that he said. I would have supported Trump if he said all of those things and he was actually going to pull the troops. Right, and if he was actually if he was gonna put judges that were against that were for separation of church and state, and also he was a non-interventionist. If he was all of that, I wouldn't have cared if every single tweet that he said there was something racist in it. If I was an American, I would have voted for Trump. Right, because
that's a little hypothetical, but I get it.
I know it's hypothetical, but that's the point. Because what I'm saying is that you have to focus on how his policies is going to affect your lives and other people's lives. Actually, more than other people's lives.
There's and let's go beyond just the Supreme Court. Right. Okay, so beyond the Supreme Court and the tweet thing. Armin's right. The tweets are just bait. Every time something crazy is happening where he could get busted for, he tweets out something like Kofifi, or he'll tweet something outrageous, and all the media will run after it. He's been doing this for years. He knows how to play the media. He knows how to play the media, the new social media, internet media, just the way John F. Kennedy knew how to play TV. And he did do the makeup, and he did all this stuff while Nixon didn't, and he creamed him in the debate because the People was the first televised debate ever, and he completely creamed Nixon, even though people who heard it on the radio thought Nixon won the debate. Okay, because he knew how to play the media. Trump is masterful at this. And what happens is that while he's baiting you with his tweets, do you know what Mitch McConnell and these guys are doing in the background? They have appointed hundreds and hundreds of conservative judges. Like, forget about the Supreme Court. Supreme Court's one thing. Like, they're completely transforming the judiciary in the United States. Completely transforming it. The kind of stuff they're doing is absolutely, like, if you are pro-secular and you believe in separation of church and state, everything is going backwards and you don't even know it because you've got pussy hats on and you're out there tweeting with hashtags. That's not going to do anything.
Don't underestimate the influence of social media, though, man.
Yeah, so I'm talking about how important social media is. It's completely distracting an entire country from what's happening behind the scenes.
It does change people's opinions.
Of course it does.
It does influence. It does move candidates.
You got Pepe the Frog. You got all of these things. They help propel Trump to power. I know that.
You think all these politicians with all these analysts and experts and all the money they're pouring so much money in social media. And Bloomberg even bought his memeing now. He's buying memes. Like, do you think they would do all of this if social media didn't work? Social media works. Social media is part of real life. It's where people are having the most discussions. Like, don't
it's part of it, but I think that there's someone is saying, I think it was who said this right now? Yeah, it's someone. Oh, man, I lost a comment here, but someone was saying that Ali's got a bad case of the TDS, that is the Trump derangement syndrome, and that's actually true. So I do, because I care about the biggest problem is we left Islam. We're ex-Muslims. Why did we leave Islam? Because we left Islam because it's authoritarian. We left it because there's
Well,
a lot of things about it that are immoral.
Okay, but be careful not to completely. Okay, I'm against Trump, but a lot of people exaggerate how authoritarian. Like, oh my God, he's going to become like.
No. I know that Trump is not authoritarian. I know. I was going to say thank God. Well, thank God he's got like
Thank
checks and balances,
Iblis.
and he's got stuff that keeps him in check. But I'm saying that the kind of things that they stand for, and the way that separation of church and state, of religion and state, is one of the most important things to me.
Right.
Okay, one of my friends is in jail, and he hasn't seen his family for 8 years because he wrote about separation of church and state, supporting it in Saudi Arabia. He's in jail now. His name is Raif Badawi. He's in Saudi Arabia. Okay, and now we are faced with a very real scenario of rolling back this separation of religion and state in the United States through the Supreme. It is insane, of course. Now the thing is, the definition of Trump derangement syndrome for me is not having Trump fellatio syndrome.
I'm okay
right? Which
with
I think
being
is a much
extremely
bigger thing.
anti-Trump, but for the right reasons. I think a lot of the
That's well, I
think a
that's
lot of
good
the
reason.
resist people. No, you're right, but I'm just saying a lot of the resist people. They're just the PC kind of people that just don't like tone, and they will, like, who cares about tone? Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, by the way, somebody's saying
I also, by the way, have Muhammad derangement syndrome, and I hear the same thing from people. Oh, he was right. You're misinterpreting him. You're taking his writings too seriously. You're too literally. Blah blah blah. The same thing that Trump supporters say. So yeah, that's two derangement syndromes I have.
somebody is saying Tulsi 2020 in our live chat, but Tulsi has zero chance, guys.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's not
honestly,
gonna happen.
why is
Tulsi's
she not? Why she didn't drop out like Yang did to be able to?
She's so hot though. I know that's sexist. I'm really sorry, but
That's not sexist.
Jesus.
That's
I'm being facetious, but she's just on the debate stage. She was really nice to look at. She would wear those white suits.
Does somebody think that's sexist to think somebody else is
Uh,
hot?
Everything is sexist, Armin.
Okay.
Look at this. But man, she's got a great smile. She's everything. I think that she makes sense on some things too. I actually don't think that she's as evil as everybody else thinks she does. That thinks that she is. But yeah, that kind of like causes the whole Assad thing, and I don't know.
A lot of
I would
people.
not vote
Okay,
for
this
her.
is why people think it's sexist, right? Because it's like, why are you not commenting on the way the men look? Well, because none of them are hot. If you look at Trudeau, a lot of people were talking about how
Oh,
hot.
I'm sorry. Major exception. Go to my Twitter right now, and I tweeted this way before this podcast. I put up 3 pictures of Pete Buttigieg with a beard. Someone put beards on this guy, and he looks hot as hell.
Right.
And I actually
Well, one
I
reason
tagged his
why-
husband too. I was like, you need to help this guy grow his beard again. So I totally commented on his looks.
There's two reasons why we're not commenting on men's look as much as First of all, because we're straight. Second of all, is because none of the men are that hot. But if they were, we might have said it.
They're all like over 70. Oh no, now we're being ageist. Armin, you're putting me in all these traps.
No, I just want to offend
which
people.
is to be.
But remember, like the way that people were commenting on Trudeau's look when he was elected, right? The things that girls were saying online, women. Oh my God, sorry, women, not girls. Somebody's gonna come at me. The way that they were talking about how he looks and how hot he is, most men would not dare talk about the woman candidates the way. And again, this is why I think, Ali, you're exaggerating how women have it worse because of sexism than men. I think right now it's the other way around, because most people
Online.
Most people were completely tolerant about the like sexualizing Trudeau, women sexualizing Trudeau, and saying how hot he is, and and I don't remember exactly, but the comments were so,
This is where
so
I am
over
sexist. I
the
think it's
top.
different.
I think
it's different.
and people, not only people didn't condemn it, people were enjoying it. People were celebrating how women were how women were drooling over Trudeau. And honestly, I don't think there's any problem with that. I think if you want to drool over somebody, go ahead and enjoy, right? But if men were saying the same thing about any female candidate, the same lines that women were using, the amount of sexist accusation will be through the roof. And most men do not say that because they know the consequences of talking about women in that way. But I'm just saying that... Yeah, go on.
My opinion on this is very simple, and I'll move on after this because I don't want to get off topic. But the thing is, I actually think it's different. So you can call me sexist for this, but I think if there's a girl walking across a construction site and all these guys like say nice ass, nice tits, all that stuff, I think that's a lot worse than if I was walking across and a whole bunch of women in the construction site said, hey, nice ass, nice one. They'd never say that,
That's
of course.
you know why that's a different
You haven't
scenario?
seen me naked?
You know why that's a different scenario? Because you're because men are physically stronger and men do attack women. No, hold
they're
on.
appreciated for different things.
Let me make a point, for God's sake. I'm just saying.
No, but I don't want to get into this. This is
no, you can't.
Okay, make the last point.
I'm just saying,
even if I disagree.
in public, it's easier for women to feel vulnerable and feel like they're unsafe than men are, right? Obviously. So if you have a whole bunch of men drooling over a woman outside in the street, I could see why a woman will feel a lot more uncomfortable than a man, right? Because obviously you have a much higher chance of women becoming physically inappropriate against a woman than women. That's statistically, that's a lot more likely.
Yeah.
So if you put it in that situation, if you put it in that hypothetical, yeah, that is more for men to do it is more inappropriate than women for doing it because of the amount of discomfort you're causing. But if you're talking about a politician, we're not talking about Trudeau's safety and he's not going to get like. I'm talking about that in my hypothetical. This is exactly if women drooling over Trudeau should be acceptable. Same men, you saying Tulsi is hot is the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not
listen. Yeah, okay. I am just sexist, and I'll give you one example. I call a lot of my male friends little bitches, and I call them cunts. All my guy friends, I call them that all the time. I would never speak that way to a woman.
What? Okay? Somebody's saying we're unfair.
Anyway,
somebody's saying we're unfair to Tulsi. The only thing we said about Tulsi is that she has zero chance. Like, is that not? That is completely fair. Like,
yeah, that is completely fair.
That is close to zero chance.
She has look. The thing is, here's the thing. You can, if you're Tulsi Gabbard, I mean, you're like, well, she can attract people from the Trump voters. She can get crossover voters. This is a turnout election. Crossover stuff is minor. The other problem is you can get crossover voters, but you also have to keep your own. You're running as a Democrat. You have to keep your own. She can't do that, so she has no chance. The other thing is, there's a question coming in from Jared. Bachman Gallivan. He's saying, what about Trump strikes you as religious, Ali? I don't think that Trump is religious at all. I don't think he's anything.
Good for religious people. He's not
I think he's basically a hollow sort of guy where his morality and everything, I think is completely non-existent. But what he's doing, the problem is he doesn't care if the U.S. becomes a complete theocracy. He doesn't care as long as it benefits him. And he can maintain his support from Christian evangelicals. The people that support Trump the most are rich people, first of all. Okay, that includes I told you a lot of my family's privilege. I got this Pakistani Muslim men in my extended family who love Trump. Okay, the second thing is Christian evangelicals, and the third just generally is non-college educated whites. Okay, those are his three biggest demographics. And Christian evangelicals are a very, very influential demographic in the United States, and they have a lot of power and a lot of political influence. And with Trump, it's especially bad. And it also, for example, the Orthodox Jews in Israel, like that kind of influence through Netanyahu and all. It's a real clusterfuck. And Saudi Arabia, major theocracy.
Aaron in the Facebook live chat is saying there's nothing wrong with calling women hot. By the way, Aaron is our previous guest. The problem is when you don't acknowledge their accomplishments as well. Yeah, I agree with
Yes, Aaron. Absolutely. That's what it is. And that is actually what the problem is. That's why a lot of people don't like it when people say it.
But there's nothing wrong. But there's also nothing wrong with acknowledging that somebody is good looking, in your opinion.
Okay. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's go on to. So yeah, if you're an atheist or agnostic, I am going to make the case that you should vote whoever it is who's going against Trump. I think you should vote. We've got Bernie Sanders, who is a secular Jew. He's talked about being secular. He's said more spiritual than religious, but that is a far cry from most people pretending to be Christians and this and that. The fact that he's open about it is great. Pete Buttigieg, he is Christian and gay, but he believes in the sort of progressive Christianity. But every time he talks about people of faith, he talks about people of religion and people with no religion. He includes that.
Oh, he does?
Obama used to do that too. Yeah, and I love that about him. I like the way that he talks.
I want them to use the A word like Andrew did. Andrew Yang did.
Yeah. Warren concerns me a little bit because she tends to even though Bernie, what's interesting about Bernie and identity politics, which I really like, again, another thing, is that when people ask him about trans rights or rights for black people or rights for Muslims, everything, he always takes it back to the economic argument. Like whatever you say, he's gonna say, yeah, transgender rights are very important, which we all agree with. They're very important and all, but eventually what we need is a system. We need to dismantle these sort of like economic systems of oppression that
a huge
disadvantage everybody.
A huge improvement over white people doesn't know how to be poor.
Yeah,
so again, that he can never take that back, and that will always be there as a major oopsie on Bernie. But he has moved away from identity politics, so we have to acknowledge that. So he does believe. It seems like he focuses on class division rather than race division, right?
Yeah,
so,
and really,
like he's like, so basically he's saying like, I'm going to help black people by lifting everybody up. Like, even though I don't believe like socialist policies work in lifting people, but at least he acknowledged that, he wants to help everybody, not just like this minority or that minority, So again,
and that brings about equality too, and it's not just like an all lives matter type thing. He does acknowledge that. I mean, there's a difference, and it's true. And I actually think that yes, equality and equity are different. I mean, some people do need more. There's some people who are more disenfranchised. If you're living in a shitty neighborhood, your kid's probably going through a much shittier school, and that stuff has to be equalized too, right? So some people need more resources than others, and he acknowledges that. But he always brings it back to, there's a few things. There's housing, there's education, there's jobs, and there's healthcare. Those are the four things he really focuses on. Right? He really focuses on the economic infrastructure. I think it's great.
For who among all the candidates, who's the best for church-state separation?
Church-state separation? I think all of the Democrats would be. Warren concerns me a little bit because I think people who go and they put their arms around, they're like, okay, Muslims are a minority. These sort of super religious Catholics are a minority. So we have to kind of, they don't make a distinction between respecting minority rights and respecting minorities' beliefs. Right? That's a problem. Okay, so if you and that I think is the danger of identity politics.
Warren is comfortable with tapping into identity politics, and that's why
I feel that she is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's why she needs to go. But Bernie seems to be moving away from it. He still supports Linda. Like, he needs to come out and be like, kick out Linda Sarsour. Like, why?
No, I don't think he does.
I don't think he does. I think
I can't stand Linda Sarsour. But
no. Linda Sarsour is one of the toxic people that he needs to call out. Like, honestly, even some of his top supporters are telling him like, why are we having Linda Sarsour here? Like that.
If she becomes a huge liability, yes, but Linda.
She is already a huge liability.
She's not as big as she is in the ex-Muslim community and the Muslim community. Like, we focus on her a lot.
If she was a white man saying the things that she had said about, if any ties to this anti-Jewish stuff, any other person, like, okay, imagine if Bernie had somebody in his campaign that was a white man that was in connection with some anti-Jewish groups. People would be losing their mind right now about this. Think about, like, Joe Rogan is not like anti-trans or anti-gay, but look how much people lost their mind because of Joe Rogan's support for Bernie Sanders.
That's my point.
But Linda Sarsour is a lot more toxic. Like, I mean, not that Joe Rogan is not toxic at all, but I'm just saying the level of outrage that people had over Joe Rogan with Bernie Sanders. Why are we not saying that times 100 with Linda Sarsour? Right?
That is why it's okay for him to keep her on for political reasons.
James is saying Sarsour is a Bernie surrogate. She's a Bernie surrogate.
I know she is, but that's politically. If you want Bernie to win, for all of the people who want Bernie to win, okay, and this is what the point is, that she wasn't. Him, like, putting his arms around her was not as big a controversy as Rogan, because nobody really cares that much about Linda Sarsour. But politically, she's going to help him massively in Michigan. She's going to help him in Michigan. So here's the thing. The thing, politically, he's got Joe Rogan, he's got Armin Navabi, he's got AOC, he's got Ilhan Omar, he's got Linda Sarsour too, and all of these things will help him out, and that's what matters.
Okay,
Right now, politically, that's what matters.
Why do
and
people...
Linda Sarsour, I despise. I think she's a complete moron. Everybody does. All of us do. But it helps him. It helps him politically.
It doesn't.
And right now, well, I mean, that's the thing. He embraces everybody, and I like that about him.
No,
and that includes people who I don't really like a whole lot.
But
so,
Ali, why do people notice when
fine.
I interrupt you, but nobody notices? Like you, I interrupt you a lot, and you interrupt me a lot. And hold on. But when I interrupt you, a lot of people like keep pointing it out. But when you interrupt me, nobody's noticing that. Like, why is it that only when I interrupt you?
Two things to say to that. First of all, I acknowledge that I'm probably interrupting Armin a lot more. Well, we're probably at least 50-50 this time.
It's fine.
In this
Go
show
ahead, do it.
Because I'm very, very into this topic. The other thing is maybe they just wanted to hear what I have to say a lot more.
Oh, okay, fine.
Anyway, okay, let's go to patron questions. It's like 12:05 on the East Coast here. Oh, Ali is sexier? Yeah, I can see myself. Shane, thank you very much, but I've seen myself naked in the mirror, and I don't want to inflict terrorism on the world. I get accused of it all the time. Anyway, so you want to do this? You want to look at the questions and answer some of them, or is there any other thoughts we have? But
yeah, send us
any other candidates we have. We didn't talk about Tom Steyer. But that's okay. He's not going to win anyway. Nothing's happening.
It doesn't matter. Oh, we didn't talk about Bloomberg.
We haven't talked about Bloomberg.
Yeah.
But so I'm actually interested in what you have to say about that. What do you think about the Bloomberg thing?
I don't think I don't like the fact that money has this much influence over politics. Like, I think
it's disturbing.
It's really scary that you could just be like, "Hey, I have a lot of money. I'm relevant in politics. I could be. I have a chance of being president." Like, oh wow, what the hell?
You know what the scariest thing about it is?
That is so scary. What?
You want the scary? No, the thing is here. I actually don't dislike Bloomberg. I like him, and if I was American,
you like the guy that is he's more authoritarian than Trump. He's
no, I don't think he's authoritarian.
What are you talking about? He's like, oh, ban this, ban that. I don't like this.
The sodas,
everything. No, he's too much.
He didn't ban it.
He's too much government involvement in people's personal lives.
And at a municipal level in New York City, yeah. Listen. It was more of a regulation thing. He's like, instead of you just have 16-ounce things, divide it into two, buy 2 or 3 of them, but don't have like one fucking 32-ounce thing. I don't agree with that kind of regulation either, but you know what? It's not that, I don't know, that for some reason doesn't bother me too much. I don't mind Bloomberg. I actually don't think he's necessarily a really bad guy. I think he had some shitty policies and he's got a lot of blind spots and he's very, very out of touch with regular people. Okay, and that just happens when you're a billionaire. But he is not an inherited billionaire like Trump. He actually started off very poor. I think his first job, he was making $9,000 a year. I don't care
about their personal achievements. I care about their policies. You shouldn't be like, policies... this guy was... Okay, let's say you were a goddamn billionaire that didn't work a day in your life and everything was gifted to you and you're ungrateful, you're arrogant, you're rude, you're, whatever. But you have some policies that is really good for the country. I think you should be supported. Let's say like you are very accomplished, you're very good, you're very polite, people love you, you're just so fun to talk to, you just have such a great personality, and you have bad policy. People shouldn't support you. Like, why do people care about others?
That was like Ali's Caliphate. Ali's Caliphate was a failure because of that. People loved him, but he was just terrible as a politician. Okay. I get it.
Why do people care about other things other than policies? I don't understand.
There is this weird thing happening that one thing that we're really realizing in the last couple of years is how much people can get away with in the U.S. And that has made me pause. I mean, the Trump acquittal, for instance, like trying to get foreign powers to dig up dirt and then holding back funding from them, like that actual quid pro quo thing, which actually really happened. You can actually get away with that precedent. Then with Bloomberg, he's spending $1 million a day. He's spending $2 billion total. The guy's net worth is $62 billion. Okay, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but if you were making $1,000 a day every day since the time of Jesus Christ, 2020 years ago, and you made $1,000 a day from then until now, you still would not have $1 billion. You'd have about 750 million. Still wouldn't. That's how crazy $1 billion is. He's got 62 billion. He's blanketed the entire country with ads. The ads, by the way, are fantastic. But you can't. It's really hard to say. When you talk about buying an election, like you're buying an election, he's still not technically buying an election. He's just advertising based on his resources. And if you look at Bernie, and if Bernie's telling you, hey, listen, how much do you pay for college? Okay, forget it. I'm going to give you that for free. How much do you pay for healthcare? I'll give you that for free too. You're actually, in a way, that is also in a way buying, right? So there's many different ways you could look at it. I don't think it's technically correct that billionaires can always buy elections. Otherwise, Tom Steyer would be like totally killing it in the polls too, right? Because he spent the second most amount as Bernie has, Bloomberg has. But it's still just really jarring to see that you can just go ahead and do what he's doing.
Yeah. I think there's too much influence of money in politics. Well, I mean, what else is new? That's always been
and I don't. That's
always been the case
for the debate.
See, Ali interrupts me, guys. Don't write it down.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I don't mind it. I only pointed out for the audience. You could interrupt me as many times as you want.
No, you're right. I did. Go ahead.
It's fine though. I don't mind it. GV saying, doesn't character matter too? What if a candidate was a sexual harasser or murderer? Well, I mean, the reason why you shouldn't be able to run as a president in that case is because the law should apply to you, not because the policies matter. No, you should be in jail. So that's just because the law should apply to everybody, not because I care mostly about your policies. But
to that person,
go ahead.
To that person, I want to thank you for your question because that reminded me of something I wanted to talk about. Bloomberg, who's had dozens of women who accused him of sexual harassment. He has benefited from the wokeness cult, right? The woke cult. Because here's what happened. Buttigieg was racist because of something that he did, with his that cop that he refused to fire. Okay? Klobuchar was racist because as a prosecutor, she had done a bunch of things, everybody. Bernie was protested by Black Lives Matter. Bernie is sexist. Okay, all of these guys have been labeled racist or sexist or bigoted. Biden is this creepy guy who fills up women. All of this is done. And then Bloomberg comes in, who has actually done stop and frisk, which was objectively racist policy. He's actually harassed women and he's given them like NDAs and everything to shut them up.
We don't know.
No. He's actually admitted to it. So he has done these things. He's apologized for stopping. He's done that. He's actually done it.
Very likely that he has done it, but we don't 100% sure.
He said that he's done it.
No, he said he might have said bad jokes. He didn't say I harassed women.
Okay, even if we say most likely, those allegations are actually serious allegations. But you have gone and frivolously accused everybody of you're a sexist, you're a racist, you're a sexist. There's been so much crying wolf that now Bloomberg, his grievance, everything that he's done, it just gets diluted. They're like, oh, okay, so he's another one who did it. Right? So people don't care anymore.
I don't know.
They don't care anymore.
I think people care.
Armin, I don't think this guy's going away because how many people watch the debate about?
Go away. Did I?
Yeah, no, but I'm not saying you said it. 8 to 10 million people probably watched that debate where he got destroyed. A few million more will watch all the clips. But the people who are watching his ads 24/7, that's about 150, 200 million people across the U.S.
Okay, so you just contradicted yourself.
Completely overwhelmed.
Yeah, but you contradicted yourself. So you're not saying...
What did I say?
Because it's not because people don't care. It's just because they're going to get drowned out by the ads. If they were being drowned out by his so-called sexist or racist claims, right? If they were being drowned out by that, he wouldn't have that much support.
No, so I don't think you understood what I...
Let me say. Okay. I'm just saying that people do care about these things. If more people keep hearing about the things that he said, about his sexual, allegations, and about the things that he said about black people, I think he will drop. But he just has so much money that more people might see the positive side because of the ads that they're saying. So I do think people care, but I don't think I honestly think they're being unfair to. Honestly, I think this is gonna.
No, let me respond to that before you go on.
Okay.
Okay, because the thing is, I think it's both, And what I'm talking about is a culture among progressives right now. The culture among progressives right now isn't that, oh, there's some white people that are racist. Okay, that's not the culture. The culture is right now that all white people are racist. Well, if all white people are racist anyway, and so is Buttigieg, and so is Klobuchar, and so is all these people, we throw around the word racist and sexist so often that when Bloomberg shows up, right, it gets diluted. That's what I'm saying.
We already discussed that most people don't think all white people are racist. That's just a fringe woke left. Most leftist people are not like that. Okay, so
but that's the discourse. If that's the discourse, and that's kind of what happens.
Most people don't think you're racist just because you're white. That's one thing. Another thing is
that I think wolf.
I think that I am against Bloomberg more because of his, more not authoritarian is an exaggeration, more government involvement type policies than that's why I'm against him. But I think the reason why other people are against him is not why I'm against him. A lot of people,
but I actually like him. I like.
Let me see, guys. See another point. I didn't. I was careful not to interrupt Ali this time, but I think
this episode I'm going to interrupt a lot.
It's okay. It's fine. I actually like it when you interrupt because it shows that you have a lot to say, which I like. But I'm just pointing out to our audience so that they notice as well. But I think that again, I'm going to lose a lot of people that are following. The people that have followed me for many years, they know this about my views, so they're not going to be surprised by this. But a lot of new people are going to be like, "Oh my God, Armin is so like." I'm going to lose a lot of fans right now, right? But I think people have been very unfair to Bloomberg's mention of real number statistics about race issues, accurate data. Things that most people don't get away with saying. He said it, and now it's coming out and haunting him. And the problem with the things that he said is now he's apologizing for it. So he's not even getting the red pill boost from it, right? So if he said it and he was right now, stuck by it, a lot of like hidden red pill people from the left might be like, oh my God, this guy is actually saying it, let's vote for him. But he said it, so he's losing a lot of people that are woke, but he's also losing red pill people because now he's apologizing for it. So he's losing both sides, right? But what the things that he said are real true. Like, most people that commit crimes, these are their profiles. Well, it's true. Yeah. Like, you can't argue with no. Like, they're mostly black, they're mostly this age, they're mostly this and that. You could photocopy their profile, and most of them fit that profile.
No, but Armin, that's not controversial.
What are you talking about? That's not controversial. That's not controversial. That's not controversial to you. That is the most.
I'm not going to interrupt you.
That's not controversial to me. I think that's fact. But that is the strongest thing I have against him.
It's not. I'll explain to you. I don't want to interrupt, but I'll explain to you. That's not the controversial part. All of the Democrats, everyone acknowledges that there is more crime in minority communities, and there is more murders in minority communities. There's blacks killing blacks is a big issue. All of this stuff.
You're so out of touch with what people think.
No. Everybody acknowledges that's true.
Everybody.
That whenever you have these, right now, to take that and draft a policy that takes these general bell curve statistics and applies them to individuals, right? Which you should never do. You can't apply general statistics to individuals, right? And you do start doing stop and frisk at random. That is the part.
Ali, that's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. But
that is the part that's controversial. Hold on. It's wrong.
Hold on. That's your position, and that's a more reasonable position. That is not. Look at the ads. I follow all these leftist content creators, okay? Mm-hmm. What they're not just saying, like stop and frisk was a failure, which it was. That's also statistically true. That was a failure, right? But what they're saying, like, look at this racist thing he said. I follow these people. They're not, without that adding the other point that, the conclusion was stop and frisk, which was a failure. That's not how far they have to take it. All they have to say is like, look, he said this. He said statistically, these are the numbers of the people that are committing the most crimes. Holy shit, that he's so racist. That's all they're saying. So he's reporting facts. He's reporting real numbers and saying this is what the numbers are. And they're like, look, that's all you need to know about Bloomberg. Ali, that is what they're saying. That is what they're accusing him of. So if you think that is not, if you think that is not what people see as racist, you're out of touch with a lot of people, because that, people see that as like something very, very wrong to say, even though if it's real statistical numbers, even though if it's true.
So we've seen different things, but if you guys have any comments on this, on what we're saying, and if you think that one is more right than the other, let us know. But let's get to
somebody saying in the live chat, Armin's right. There are lots of loons saying statistics are racist.
There are lots,
and
of
unfortunately,
loons,
this is something that is not just the woke left. This is something that is actually, I think, a lot of the left. Again, I don't accuse a lot more. Like, I don't try to say like most of the left is the woke left, because it's not. The woke left is the fringe part of the left. But there are some things that the woke left has managed to inflict, spread a disease in all of the left, and this is one of them. A lot of the left, if you tell them, well, statistically, this is the profile of people that are committing the most crimes, even if you adjust per capita, right? And people are like, that's a racist thing to say, even if it's
So I think that even Bernie has acknowledged that there is more. Well, he said that there's more crime and there's more of the stuff that's happening in minority communities. But what he has said is that to change this, we have to dismantle like the systemic sort of structures of discrimination that exist, right? So we have to provide for better education, better housing, better all that stuff.
It's not just that, though. That's the problem. They keep trying to blame.
Instead of stop and frisk.
Yeah, but a lot of people try to blame everything, but the communities themselves. Here's another thing that they say. They're like, oh, it's because of weed. It's because of weed. Like, this is legalized weed, and it's gonna stop. It's gonna fix everything. It's not just weed. If you remove weed from the crimes and just look at all the other crimes, it's still the same demographics. It's still the same demographics. Right, go on.
I know, I understand. Okay, so let's go to the questions we have. We're going to do this for about 15 more minutes, and we're going to go through the questions. By the way, there's loads and loads of questions here, or comments, so we're absolutely not going to be able to get to all of them. But anyway, somebody's asking about our definition. John Wayne is asking, what the hell is secular jihadists? And Jared is saying, I'm going to guess someone who is on a jihad to spread secularism. You guys, there you go. You solved it right there. This is what we are. We are jihadists. We're warriors. We're trying to spread secularism. For those of you who are listening to us for the first time, Armin and I are both we're both raised we're from Muslim backgrounds. Armin grew up in Tehran. I grew up in Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. We are atheists, right? So we were raised Muslim, but we're atheists, and that's what we talk about. We try to spread secularism and bring light to issues that are secular. And speaking of secular, one thing that we didn't talk about, Armin, here, Bloomberg as a choice for now. He is also a secular Jew, right? Which is a really good thing. There's two guys. Bernie is secular. This guy.
The secular part should matter. The Jew part shouldn't matter.
Shouldn't matter. Yeah, and so again, I think a lot of these choices are
I like
quite
the
good,
question
as long as
saying
it's not
the question that by John. That's my favorite comment of today. Question: what the hell is a secular jihadist? That is a great question. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great question. So go to secularjihadist.com or go to patreon.com/SJME and support us, and you're going to find out.
And you will become an honorary secular jihadist as well.
Honorary secular. You can be a jihadist yourself.
Yes.
That's all you got to do. Okay, so... All right. Anyway, Armin, just say something while I...
No, I'm just saying,
Armin's raw opinionated. So Sean is saying Armin's raw opinionated passion. Ali's moderating, reel it backs. Love it all. Oh. Okay.
I'm glad that a lot of people that hate me, they like you, and vice versa. That means that we have something for everybody. A lot of people that really can't stand what I have to say really, really like what you have to say, Ali, and exactly the opposite. And that means our show has something for everybody that is a fan.
Yeah, and sometimes it varies from topic to topic as well. So
Mars is saying, Ali, what do you think the results will be come November? I know it's early, but I still like your thoughts. I honestly don't know. I honestly think that, well, anybody that says that they know, they're just. But okay, so the
Yeah.
most likely thing is going to be is that it's. I think again, don't take this part out like, oh, Armin predicted wrong. This is completely based on current data, which could change like this. I mean, anything can happen. Like any major event could completely ruin the entire like polling and everything. The whole numbers could fall apart because of events and something somebody says or something is discovered. But it's looking like it's going to be Bernie versus Trump, and I think Bernie versus Trump. I honestly don't know who's gonna. I think it's like I really don't know Bernie versus Trump who's gonna win. I think it's going to be Bernie.
Yeah, so I actually think
It's
that
50-50,
any of the
I think.
candidates that go up against him, I think that Trump is going to lose. I think that
So
these
you
guys are
think
going to
Bernie's
win.
going to be president?
Yeah, Bernie's going to be president. I think if Biden goes up against him, he's going to be
No.
president. I
Well,
think any
right
of these
now,
guys will.
okay. So you think Trump is going to lose? So and the most likely.
I think that
Okay, so wait.
the higher
Let me
chances
finish
that
my
Trump's going
question.
to lose.
So so if you think Trump is going to lose, the most likely candidate right now is Bernie. So if Trump is going to lose, you think Bernie is going to be president? That's the most likely scenario.
Yeah, I do. I think if Trump goes against Bernie, I think
What do
Bernie's
you
going to
think
win.
Iran-U.S. relationships is going to be like with Bernie?
Iran, U.S. I have no idea, but I don't think that the Iran-U.S. relationship is going to be that much different with Bernie as it has been with Obama. I think that
Obama.
Bernie's going to negotiate. Yeah,
So you
I
think
think
he's
he's
going
going to
to
negotiate a deal.
bring back the nuclear deal?
I think any of the Democrats are going to try to bring back the nuclear deal. I don't know if Iran's going to sign up for it because they'll be like, okay, yeah, the next
I
4
wonder
years,
if
what's going to
the
happen?
problem is that Iran politics is very unfriendly towards the deal now. So I don't know.
That's
Even if United States wants the deal, I don't know if it's gonna how easy it's gonna be from the
they're
Iran side to bring back a deal.
they're going to have to find a way to sort of convince them that this one is going to stick, and the next president who gets elected isn't going to tear it up after 4 or 8 years.
It's right now political suicide for in Iran to suggest a deal
But
after what happened
yeah,
with
but
the
I
previous.
think Obama had a pretty decent policy towards Iran. I feel like
Yeah, that's
Bernie
one.
would probably have the same one. There's I wanted to. Someone was asking over here. An amateur astrophotography, and he's referencing Chuck. Chuck talked about how Bernie and Bloomberg might be closeted atheists, and he's asking, is Bernie a closeted atheist? So I actually think yes. I think more
think so
of these
too.
candidates than not are closeted atheists. 26% of, I mean, if they're
If Bernie
religiously
goes against
unaffiliated.
Trump, it's going to be the first time that we have an atheist versus an atheist. I think it's very likely that we have two atheist candidates going after each other. If it's going to be
I
Bernie,
actually thought it was. I wrote an article a long time, I think 2009, 2010, in HuffPost called "Barack Obama Closeted Non-Believer," because I think Barack Obama is an atheist. If you read "Dreams from My Father," his book, he talked about how great it was that his own father became an atheist. His father was an ex-Muslim, by the way, Barack Obama Senior. Right when he came to Harvard, he became a confirmed atheist, according to Obama. His mother taught him to regard religion with a lot of suspicion. And I quoted Richard Dawkins on this article, and I want to read it out, just this paragraph. In a 2002 TED Talk, renowned evolutionary biologist and blah, 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 Richard Dawkins, cited Paul G. Bell's meta-analysis of 43 studies from 1927 onwards, showing that highly intelligent people with high IQs and education levels were significantly less likely to be religious. Okay, there was another study in 1998 by Larson and Witham who found that of the American scientists in the National Academy of Sciences, only 7% believed in a personal God. And here's what he said, Dawkins. He said, so we've reached a truly remarkable situation, a grotesque mismatch between the American intelligentsia and the American electorate, because the U.S., everybody has to pretend to be religious. If I'm right, this means that high office in the greatest country in the world is barred to the very people best qualified to hold it, the intelligentsia, unless they're prepared to lie about their beliefs. To put it bluntly, American political opportunities are heavily loaded against those who are simultaneously intelligent and honest. So everybody has to lie about it. Bernie has, to his credit, come closest to saying that, okay, yeah, I'm not a very religious guy, I'm not spiritual, but I really respect religion. I mean, he did the least he had to do in order to
By the way,
appease the people who were religious.
James in our live chat thinks that Trump is going to win. By the way,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are thinking and warning, which I think is completely wrong and stupid, and I might be proven wrong, and I might look like a dumbass when it happens. But a lot of people think if Trump loses, he's not going to leave the White House, and it's going to be a coup and stuff. And I think, like, what the hell are you talking about? They even asked,
Bill Maher said that's his biggest concern.
That is so dumb. That's not going to happen. Are you guys?
It's not.
Even
It's not a matter. The military will take him out of the White House.
top two people that think that is Bill Maher and David Pacman. And like, are you guys serious? Like, it got so serious that they even asked Bernie. I think it was Bill Maher asked that on his show as well. They're like, what are you gonna do if Trump doesn't leave? You just call the cops and say like he's trespassing on my home, and you look like what are you talking about? What if he's not gonna leave? You're just gonna get the army moving and they're gonna remove him. Like what? Like how do you?
Yeah.
Like who's like he's not gonna be able to just like stay? Like dude, what do you?
He can't squat. Yeah.
Him and what army? Like what are you guys talking about? Like who thinks this is a threat? Oh.
The main question is like, Trump now he's saying that he won't do the debate. So Armin, your dream of seeing Bernie and Trump together on the debate stage may not be true because he's saying that they're rigged. I'm not going to do them. So the question really is, it's not about whether he's not going to leave. I think that's kind of dumb. Of course he's going to.
It's so dumb, but people smart, like people that I see, like David Pacman. I actually follow him, and I had like he's one of the leftist contents that I follow to just get and he thinks that that's a real threat. Like honestly, how dumb is that? How dumb could you be to think that?
I think what they also have in mind and what they should say that would make more sense is what if Trump loses, he says, "Oh, this whole thing was rigged. It was bullshit. I'm not going to accept the results." And then he tries to get his followers to rise up and protest and go out with guns in the street.
Go ahead and try. Good luck. You versus the U.S. military and the police. What are you talking about?
He's gotten away with a lot, man. He has gotten away with a lot.
Okay, so if
you're tested the presidency.
Okay, but sure, but you're talking about like a potential of a civil war and to keep the like, come on, guys. Yeah, sure, everything is possible. So is an alien invasion, okay? But I'm not gonna use everything that is possible in my my calculation because, come on, that is so dumb. That is. And I know I'm making a risk, because because everything is possible, and if it does happen, I'm gonna look very dumb because people are gonna take this part of the video and be like, "Look, Armin, you said it's not possible," and it's not. But I'm willing to take that risk. And if it does happen, I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, I was being stupid. Okay, maybe I was wrong." But right now, as it stands, with all the possibilities of all the things that could happen, I'm gonna say that people that are coming up with that prediction, they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, he's gonna bring up his base, and people are gonna come up with guns in the street, and he's gonna stay in the White House, and it's gonna be the military is gonna come and try to remove him, and all these, Southern people are going to be around the White House with their guns, trying to keep in the White House, and the U.S. military is like surrounding them, and it's going to be a siege." Like, is that really the image that the people have in mind? Like, what is that? What?
We get it.
Okay, all right.
So here is Chuck is saying, "I agree with Ali. Tulsi is a Russian asset, but I like her. She's pretty, and that's really all that matters." Russian asset.
That's
whatever.
a joke, right? I hope nobody's being serious with that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The first three letters of acid are actually wrong. Okay. Anyway,
Aaron is gonna call me dumb because Aaron thinks
someone wants to cancel me. Cancel Ali and cancel Armin. Okay, there we go.
Aaron thinks I'm being dumb. Aaron thinks he's not gonna leave. Okay, deal. Let's see.
Have you seen Tulsi's surfing video? Tulsi has a surfing video. I'm looking that up right now. Mike is saying, have you seen Tulsi's surfing video? And I am absolutely going to look that up now. Okay, anyway, there's a lot of stuff about Tulsi being hot. And then Shane is actually talking about Pete Buttigieg, who is not as hot as Trudeau. There we go, guys, ladies and gentlemen. This is our skeptic atheist community, and this is a conversation that's happening in terms of how we decide on who we're gonna elect.
We can have fun. We don't have to be just dry and political all the time.
Joel is saying Ted Cruz is pretty hot with his daddy beard. Joel is canceled. This is the guy who should be canceled. Anybody who thinks Ted Cruz, that guy. Oh my God. Okay,
I think Bernie
so
also has like an appeal, not like a sexy appeal, but like a grandpa, cute grandpa, loving grandpa kind of appeal. You know what I mean?
loving
Like you want to
grandpa
like
appeal,
the cute grandpa that like you go like, oh my god, I
tough
love
love.
no, no, the guy, I don't know. I think he has that grandpa appeal. I don't know. The more like Joe Biden has that like the grandpa, the anti-grandpa thing, like where the grandpa that keeps coming and saying stupid stuff and it doesn't make any sense, and people are like, oh my god, he's talking again. And Bernie is the other kind of grandpa that everybody loves and people can't just wait to invite him over. I think they're both stereotypical bad grandpa and good grandpa.
Yeah, Chuck is saying Hillary is a warmonger. I would vote for Trump against Hillary every time. I disagree. If Hillary was running right now and I could vote, I would vote for Hillary over Trump at this point.
I think a lot of
Personally,
people that don't like Trump do want Trump to get elected just because it's so entertaining to see the woke people lose
I'm
their
gonna miss him.
lose their. No, hold on, let me finish. I think like seeing like I think a lot of people get like a kick out of seeing woke people just lose their nerves online and cry and be like, just feel like they lost everything. That's just so entertaining for people to watch. The woke people do, right? So I think a lot of people just want Trump to win, not because they like him. They just want to see that. They just want the PC people, to lose their minds.
Yeah.
Do you think that's an element? I think that's a big thing for people. It's a big fu to the PC culture.
Look, for me, a lot of it is it really is the entertainment thing. I was watching the debates, the March 2016 debate, the Republican primary debate, where Trump, he was talking to Marco Rubio, and he's like, "This little guy, you guys should all watch it. It's just so amazing." He's like, "Little Marco, okay, Big Donald." There was that, and that. He bragged about the size of his penis, right? So he just said, Marco says I have little hands. That means that something else must be small. But I can guarantee you, there's no problem.
Okay, so here's
amazing.
Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna miss that.
Okay, so actually, you know how I said a lot of things are sexist against men? This is something that is very sexist against women. Imagine, like men can get away with saying stuff like that. People will be like, "Oh my god, he's talking about his penis," but it's not like that big of a deal. But imagine if a woman came and said, like, imagine my boob size are bigger than hers. Imagine, imagine if somebody said that. People are like, what the fuck, right? Like that would.
Unless it was Tulsi Gabbard.
Right.
Anyway.
No, but imagine if some woman said that. I think that would be like unprecedented. Like that would people. Yeah. So that is sexist against. Men get away with saying stuff like that more.
So Jared is saying that he's saying he was the one who was making the point that Trump is non-religious. And amateurs astrophotography is saying I don't know what you mean by obviously non-religious. How could you discern that this is simply fallacious? Also, do you know how the courts work? If he wins, he destroys us, and that's absolutely true. Like the biggest problem everybody should be concerned about. If you're an atheist, agnostic, freethinker, I can't say it enough. You should be concerned about the Supreme Court and the complete transformation about the judiciary that is moving in the exact opposite reason. It's actually undoing everything.
Is anybody better than Bernie when it comes to who's better than Bernie when it comes to separation of church and state?
Separation of church and state. I think all the Democrats are okay on that.
Is anybody better? I don't know. I think Warren is the worst. But who? Because she's.
Look, anybody.
Actually, here's one thing that worries me about Bernie. Why does he have I don't know. Should it worry me or shouldn't it worry me? Actually, I don't know if this worries me. But Bernie has big Muslim support. Why are Muslims supporting Bernie more than any other candidate? Are they supporting Bernie more than any other candidate?
Yeah, they are.
Why?
Yeah, Palestine.
Oh.
Palestine. Foreign policy. Palestine. The fact that he is sort of embracing Linda. This is why I'm saying it's a good thing.
No, don't
politically for him
pick another Muslim.
To put his arms around Linda Sarsour and Ilhan Omar. The reason for that is because it helps him with the Muslims. Like the Muslims in Michigan, they overwhelmingly voted for him because Linda Sarsour got him out. She got them out, and she really helped him politically. and she'll continue to do that.
We
And
need
it's
to
a smart political decision.
We need to have a show on analyzing Bernie's. If he becomes president, we need to analyze his views on Palestine and the things that he said.
Yeah, I mean, he is very staunchly. He's just as pro-Israel as everybody else. He's Jewish. He's the son of Holocaust survivors. One good thing about Bernie is that he doesn't make it about him. Everybody else brings their personal stories. Bernie has had, what happened to his mother. His mother died when he was very. There's a lot of things he can talk about. He grew up very modest. His parents were Holocaust survivors. There's so much stuff he can talk about, but he doesn't bring it in because his whole thing is not me, us. So that is one thing I actually really like about Bernie. He doesn't use the gimmick. He doesn't use that conventional political gimmickry that.
What worries me about his Muslim support is it's okay for you to have a lot of Muslim support. That's fine, right? As long as they're not supporting you because of the fact that you're going to support Islam in any way. The problem that I have with having a lot of Muslim support is that are you going to let that influence your secularism? You know what I mean? Somebody in the live chat is saying Bernie campaign is infiltrated by jihadi elements. I don't know how true that is.
I don't think it works that way.
I'm just worried how much, for example, an organization like CARE is going to be, because CARE is going to move in, right? Obviously, it's going to be. I think if you have Linda Sarsour as a surrogate in your campaign, that's just a gateway for CARE influence and just tentacles just going in all of the administration in the White House. And that
still happened.
No.
It happened during the Obama administration.
Not as much.
Too.
Okay.
The Dalia Mogahid was like one of his.
See, you're not letting me say. But I'm just saying it's not as much as Bernie. Okay, there are a lot more CARE. By the way, for people that don't know, CARE is an Islamic organization that is extremely political. Okay, and they are very dangerous. The influence that they have in politics is very toxic, I think, in the United States. And Bernie has more people that are sympathetic or even part of CARE in his administration than Obama or any other candidate ever, right? And this is hasn't been a thing yet because Bernie hasn't had any positions so far that has been as a result of this influence. Even his Palestine, position. What he's consistent with what he was saying before, right? So I haven't seen anything that has been changing, but I'm just worried that these people are gonna, once he has an administration, how much are these people are going to be able to have an influence on the policies that he's going to be supporting, maybe even against his own. So this is what I'm worried about.
I think this is fairly simple. I think most of the Muslim people who support Bernie is the biggest issue by far for them. The reason they support him is because he has had an unconventional view compared to most other U.S. presidential candidates on Palestine. So was that. So he has defended Israel's right to exist. He is absolutely supportive of that. But he also acknowledges that there is a lot of injustice being done to Palestinians, which is true. And it's being done by the current Israeli administration, which is also true. And Christopher Hitchens actually pointed that out all the time. He was on the side too. And they like the fact that a U.S. candidate is actually acknowledging that. And they're supporting him now.
Okay, there's a right way.
Wait, hold on. Let me just finish.
Yeah, go on.
So now the thing is there a concern that if CARE comes in, then what's going to happen? For instance, if all the Muslim people come and say that we don't want homosexuality being taught to students in sex ed classes. Bernie's not going to budge on that. He's not going to be like, let's get rid of all the gay teaching because the Muslims don't want it. He's not going to do that.
No, it's going to be more subtle than that. He's not going to give
an inch on the other.
Yeah, but
it won't be. He's not going to give an inch on that. He's not. This is the thing. Warren, unfortunately, this is the thing that scares me about Warren. I feel like that she would at least do some sort of accommodation, find some middle ground. Bernie is not the kind who does that.
Okay, but this is why removing Linda Sarsour would have been so symbolically proved to me that he wouldn't be influenced by stuff like that, right?
He's not going to.
Hold on. See, I didn't. I listened to you. Okay, but he could have been like, yeah, I have Muslim support, but it's not gonna influence me, right? But I think it is gonna influence him because he didn't remove Linda Sarsour, right? He didn't remove Linda Sarsour. So to me, what's that? Cenk Uygur, when he got support from Bernie Sanders and it got backfired on Bernie, and Bernie removed his support. He was like, listen, we're not going to support. So
No, that's not what happened.
Okay, but he pulled back a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
No, he did. No, he didn't. Cenk Uygur.
Cenk, yeah.
No, I'm just correcting you on this.
Okay.
That's the only reason I'm interrupting is because what happened is when he got a lot of backlash and Cenk, all of his stuff came out.
I know what you're saying.
Then Cenk said that I'm withdrawing my support, my endorsement, and I requested Bernie to retract it.
Okay,
Bernie said, okay, I'll do it.
Let me finish my thought. What really actually, what I really think happened was that they talked and they were like, listen, we don't want to remove your support. This is hurting us. Your sexist comments and stuff. Just go and say you don't want any support. I think they had a discussion and that's what they did, right?
I don't think that's what happened.
Okay, whatever. But I'm just saying
otherwise he would have removed Rogan. Rogan was way more controversial.
No.
Way more.
No.
But he made a total ad of him.
Cenk has more obvious sexist comments and then Rogan did it. Anyways, never mind. What I'm just saying is that I do think that even if you yourself don't let other people change your policies, if you build an administration, like look at this, I have a very even if you look at a very small nonprofit organization, right? Like Atheist Republic, it's a nonprofit organization which you can support, by the way. I don't know what's going on most of the time with the people that are running Atheist Republic because it's just so big for me to have eyes over everything. So if it's true with such a tiny nonprofit like Atheist Republic, imagine if you're having the White House, so you have an administration, there's so many things happening, right? As a president, you can't be just everywhere. You can't just control everything. It's about the people that you put in charge. So even if Bernie himself, policy-wise and philosophically, doesn't change in his position, if his administration is filled with people that are connected to care, it will impact the direction that the country is going, even if Bernie himself doesn't philosophically let
that part I agree with.
Right?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that's something that, and this is why we need to organize. This is why this is a time for all of the ex-Muslims who listen to this podcast. The reason that CARE is so influential and ex-Muslims aren't is because it's not a good organization structure. The CARE does not actually. I mean, people go to their conventions and everything like that, but they're way more conservative than the vast majority of Muslims in the U.S. Right. Okay, the most the prominent Muslims in the U.S. are. We
should do a Mars was
pretty liberal.
Mars was suggesting, asking if we did a show on CARE. We should do a show on CARE. Actually, we should make it more toxic for people to deal with CARE. We should make it a political cause for Bernie to have so many connections with CARE. I think it should backfire on him. I think that's something we need to do.
Yeah, the question is really is CARE going to make the left more conservative, or is aligning with the left going to make CARE a little more conciliatory? And I don't really know how that turns out.
I know. It's going to be. They're going to be two-faced about it. That's how it's going to be. That's how it's always going to be. CARE is going to have two sets of audience. It's going to have the U.S. general public, and it's going to have its Muslim audience, and they're going to play two different roles for two different audiences.
It's possible.
Right.
So, anyway. Let's move on. I think there's one more. Let's just do one more question. This is getting late. Brady Daw is asking, do you think Bernie will be the most politically efficacious, considering moderates and older voters are the most reliable vote blue no matter who types, and Bernie brings a new base? You know what? This is what I was saying about the turnout thing. I think you're right. I think that if this is a turnout election, which it really should be, if it's about bringing out as many people, because Bernie's thing is that, this is also too soon to say. The conventional wisdom on Bernie was that he has a very strong base. He gets turnout. He gets people. That's why he does so well in caucuses, is that he gets people to come out. His people come out. They're energized. They're passionate. But he can't really expand. We're seeing now that that's not true. That's not true. He's pretty much caught up to Biden now in terms of his support from minorities, from black people and from Hispanics and so on. And he is expanding his base. And you're right, a lot of the moderate people They will. They'll vote for it. Even James Carville, who can't stand Bernie, has said that he would vote for Bernie if it was Bernie versus Trump. So there's a higher chance of that. Now, the flip thing,
I wish
if
we had
there's a
some Trump
moderate
supporters
candidate,
because I don't get Trump supporters.
we did have some Trump supporters
No,
here. That
we
yeah.
didn't.
Now,
No, we have people that
let
think
me,
Trump is going to win.
Armin, let me
That's
just
not
finish this.
necessarily that.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me just finish this. So the flip thing is not true. Like, so I probably not true. Is it that if there is a moderate candidate that comes up, and the Bernie people, especially if they feel like, you know, how they felt like it was stolen from him, they're like, no, Bernie should have won. We're Bernie or bust. Some of them have said that they're going to go vote for Trump, and a lot of them are actually going to stay home. I think only about 53 or 54% of Bernie supporters are saying that they will vote for another candidate if Bernie is not the nominee. Whereas Warren supporters, 90% of them say that even if Warren is not the nominee, they will vote for whoever is the
That's
nominee.
why
So
people should vote for Bernie.
yeah, so so in that way, it is more politically efficacious. I think it is, because both in terms of turnout, and recently we're seeing in terms of expanding his base as well, by including people like Linda Sarsour, unfortunately. But it is politically benefiting him. For now,
You know what I wanted to see? I wanted to see people that non-Christian support for Trump, so they could explain themselves, right? Because it's hard for me to understand non-Christian support for Trump. Again, we do have people that think Trump is going to win, but that doesn't mean they support him. They just think he's going to win. And a lot of people that think Trump is going to win, they think that's mostly because of how ridiculous the left has become, not because how good Trump is, right? So again, these predictions does not necessarily mean they support Trump. And I'm not saying if they're right or wrong. I'm just saying that do not confuse those two with each other. But we don't have that many people in our audience, not that I've seen, that support Trump. They actually like him as president. And even the few that we have that want him president is mostly a big FU to the people that don't like, rather than because they like Trump.
You know what I saw? Like, after Trump got elected, I remember. So I saw this sort of big fracture in the ex-Muslim movement, where they're not a huge one, but really like more like a 75% to 25%, where a lot of ex-Muslims who were just really bitter about Islam and really did not like that. They actually liked Trump because he was so sort of anti-Muslim. The majority of us saw through it, and we knew that, you know, being anti-Muslim is not the point. That's stupidity. So we didn't like him. We all thought that he was like a bigot. But there's a lot of support, and every time I tweet something anti-Trump, I remember getting this whole army of Trump supporters coming at me. They've either gone underground, or they've just become more docile, or they've given up. I don't see that anymore online either.
Yeah. It's interesting because Bernie's passionate supporters are going up, so that might be one indicate to show that Bernie's going to win.
But I've seen this sort of dwindling happening since over the last year or so.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Because Trump was memed into the White House. So if he doesn't have his meme army behind him, I don't know if it's going to be that effective.
That's the thing. And you know what? One point that Bill Maher makes it so strong, the Bernie bros now are the same kind of, and I mean this in an endearing and positive way, like they're the asshole army. That, you know, Trump had that asshole army, and that helped him get there. Those online warriors. And, you know, Bernie's actually got that. He's got these Bernie bros, and they're super passionate. They will come at you like a ton of bricks if you say anything against them. And, you know,
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try saying
if you want to.
Even though I like Bernie more than everybody else, I'm going to try to criticize him, see what happens.
I've done it, and they just come at you like it's like the Trump supporters, but it's
Let's
good.
Go. Let's go after Bernie.
No, but I mean that's a really good thing, because if you want Trump out of the White House, I think, you know, none of the other people have their own vernacular, like Feel the Burn and Bernie Bros, and like this is an entire there's a subculture.
Yeah.
Right. There is which is really cool. Because my thing is, I want Trump out of the White House. I want Trump out of the White House. So if Bernie has his own asshole army, the other candidates don't. So I think that
and to be fair, and honestly, for people like, I know there's a lot of people that love Bernie that are extremely toxic. Again, not most of them are not. Most Bernie supporters are not assholes, but he does have a lot of people that are toxic that are big fans of him. But that is not any, like, you cannot control that. Like, a lot of people like, oh, well, Bernie, he should take responsibility for the people that he attracts. honestly, if you're that popular, it's really difficult. It's really, really difficult for you to control who's going to support you and who's going to like you, right? Like, people think
Yeah.
like, oh, there must be something wrong with the ideas that you're saying if you're attracting that kind of people. No, it doesn't follow, man. If you're popular, if the bigger you become, the more toxic people you're going to follow, even if you have the most lovey-dovey and non-toxic ideas in the world. So I don't think that's a fair criticism of Bernie at all. Even if it's true, even if he has the most toxic, even if all his followers were toxic people, I don't care. If his policies are good, his policies are good.
Yeah. So that's pretty much most of the questions. It's almost 1 a.m. on the East Coast here while we're recording this. So clearly we were really, really into this. We went about a half hour overtime. So we're going to wrap this up. I just have one. We'll both do a closing message. Armin, do you have a closing message?
Oh, yeah. Just for the people that are like, oh, you guys are Canadian. Why are you, you shouldn't be commenting on U.S. politics. And it's none of your business. Like, stop me. Come
You know what else I would say then?
Like, why are you commenting on U.S. politics? Because I want to. Like, come at me. Like, what are you going to do about it?
Thanks to Mitch McConnell and the Senate, it is perfectly okay for all of us foreigners to interfere in you Americans' election, and we're absolutely going to do it. Yeah. Number one. Right? Number two, I am Canadian, but I have two of my siblings live there. I have nieces and nephews who go to school in the U.S. and they go through drills like for school shootings, right? Where they have to lock up, they have to practice. Well, you know how people have fire drills? They have drills for what would happen if a school shooter came in, and they have to do that. And these, my nieces and nephews, they're the oldest one is 14, okay, and they go down to like they're 4 or 5 years old. They have to do this crap. So yes, it actually matters. The other thing is, you grew up in Iran, I grew up in Pakistan. Often what happened, and sorry, even in Canada, ask people in Iraq, ask people in Afghanistan, the U.S. election results matter, sometimes even more than the election results of your local government. Even more.
Yeah, but even if it doesn't matter, you like, let's say like you're an American, you want to comment on Iranian politics. Who's like people?
Anybody can comment on anything. I agree.
Oh,
this is especially relevant. Right. This is especially relevant. So I would say, I'll tell you what I did in 2008. There were 4 voters in Pennsylvania, a swing state, who I influenced correctly, and I'm not going to talk about exactly how, but they went out and they voted for the candidate that I wanted, which is Barack Obama, in a swing state in 2008. And I encourage all of us to do that, because now we know it's completely legal. It's completely okay to interfere in U.S. elections. The precedent has been set. The Senate has approved it. Everything is good.
That's not the type of interference that was not okay before. Everybody on the planet could talk about any politics that they want.
No,
if we have alien invasion, for instance. But if we ever have an alien invasion and I realize that they have their own politics and elections, I'm going to comment on that too, even though they're a different species.
And you should do it. And by the way, my proxy votes in Pennsylvania in 2008 counted a lot more than a lot of Americans' votes in California and New York, because you have the Electoral College, and honestly, a lot of your votes don't count.
Oh, so, Apostate Prophet is saying socialism is haram. Is it?
Socialism. Hey, listen.
Actually, I know that's a joke, but I really want. Yeah. Actually, you're right. Islam. I mean, Islam is capitalist, isn't it? It is.
In fact, everything is forbidden in Islam. In fact, Islam is forbidden in Islam. Guys, that's good. So here we go. $1 trillion tax cuts. So we are going to comment on it.
Okay, good.
My closing comment is, people, separation of church and state, Supreme Court, Trump gets reelected, 7-2 conservative majority. It's going to happen. Everything's going to go backwards. Separation of religion and state. If you're an atheist, a free thinker, a secularist, an agnostic, whatever you are, religiously unaffiliated, vote blue no matter who. Get this guy out of office. Get the guy that the Christian evangelicals support, who is kissing the asses of the Christian evangelicals. Get him out of office. Out of office. That's it. That's my message.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you, Mike. Thank you, James. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Aaron. Josh, who else? Sorry, there's some names
Mars,
that I can't.
Amateurs, astrophotography.
AP, we had the Apostate Prophet. I love having that posted prophet in our live chat. Sometimes
I do too.
I don't know why YouTube is not nice to him when he comments in our live chat. Sometimes the comments doesn't show up, but it's really good to have
YouTube is a Zionist conspiracy.
right. Everything. Well, also is a posted prophet, so they should get along. Everything for.
But by the way, isn't it amazing that Bloomberg is like a Jewish billionaire who owns a media company? That's like the ultimate stereotype.
Yeah, how come has the
they own
alt-right
the
moved
media
on?
and they're rich and
Yeah. Mike is saying live long and prosper. Mars,
that's
have a great
not
day.
good for the stereotype thing, but yeah. Go on.
No, actually, let the stereotype, let people. I never.
Let it flourish.
But also I wonder if the alt right is going to comment on that. That would be interesting. Arjun is saying would like to hear what kind. No, don't ask me that, Arjun. Chris.
What was the question? Tell me.
No.
The
It's going to be not good for me. Not good.
No, just tell me.
He's saying would like to hear what kind of danger Armin is in. I don't want to talk about that.
Oh, okay, yeah, then yeah, no, we're not going to talk about that.
Susanna saying thanks, Armin and Ali. Thank you, Susanna. Bring back super chat. I'll try. I don't know. YouTube is being mean to us. I'll try to look.
We would love to, and thank you so much for wanting to do the super chats.
Yeah, you guys are nice. If you want, become a patron today. If you want to support the show, especially since YouTube is being so mean to us, doesn't let us monetize. You guys support. So please support our show.
Patreon.com/SAME. You can go there. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month, and you'll get 5 episodes a month of this stuff. And they're really fun to listen to on the podcast, basically, because me and Armin are always interrupting and fighting with each other. It's very entertaining.
Yes.
In any case, yeah, and you can do it for again as little as $1 a month. If you can't do it, you don't want to pay for it. That is perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. Share it on your social media channels, on your Instagram, Twitter, Facebook timelines, whatever. And go on the podcast, the Apple Podcasts app on your phone, and go and give us a rating. Find us, Secular Jihadists,
or on Stitcher as well. Proud Coffer saying thank you for the great work. Oh, thank you, Proud Coffer. I like your username. Sean is saying love it, guys. Thank you. The Dude Cow is saying peace. Shane, Arjun, bye Armin and Ali, bye to you as well. This was a fun episode. I liked it.
Oh, this was so good. I could have gone on forever. I'm so fascinated by this process. The best reality show on earth.
Yeah.
Best one. It's great. and oh my God, thank God we're Canadian.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm gonna miss the entertainment value from the Trump presidency once he's gone. But
I know. What are we gonna do?
But it's worth it. It's worth losing him.
Yeah, it is.
Jim saying Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Shabbat. Did I read that right? Shabbat Shalom. Yes. Oh yeah, it's no, it's the Sabbath. Okay, that's how the Jewish people say. Shabbat Shalom. How did I not know that? I heard this in Jerusalem. People were saying Shabbat Shalom around Jerusalem on Sabbath all the time.
And you didn't know what that was?
No, yeah, because they say shh, instead of they replace s with sh. So people were saying Shabbat.
They also have a Shalom Aleichem or something
like that. If you just take Arabic, remove the s with sh, and you have Judaism. Not Judaism. Jewish language. Hebrew.
So incestual, man. Yes. It's so incestual. All right, guys.
All right, love you guys.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
And remember, reject religion, embrace reason. Just do it.
Yes. Bye.
And we're going to see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.